Hey guys, this is the WalterFootball.com at the Dog Show from May 30th, 2025. We're going to be looking at a couple of things tonight. One, our NFL power rankings, compare and contrast them, and then look at the Week 1 NFL spreads. We have a co-host tonight who believes that a few of the spreads are way off. I agree. I think a few of the spreads are off, but I don't know which ones he thinks are off. So it'll be interesting to see if we have some agreements here or if we have some strong disagreements. We'll see. Before we intro him and everything else, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing something for the merch store. It is our money laundering t-shirt. And yes, it's the one I wore yesterday. Sorry, I was very busy today with the 2 kids under 4. I can't shower every single day like normal people. So don't hate me too much for it. But it's a cool shirt. It's my favorite shirt. So you can get that as well as many others at the WalterFootball.com merch store. Like I said, link in the description. We have a 10% off sale right now. Lots of t-shirts. So you can change the colors of these t-shirts. You can get mugs. You can get our apron. So any of that would be helpful. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. The most recent one is Jerks to the College Years, where you can read about how many weird people I ran into at Penn State for 6 years. It was a lot of fun to read. I think you guys would like reading it. Also, you can go to maybe help us out with the super chats, super stickers. It's the best way to support the show. It really helps out so much because YouTube ads pay nothing. Slew and John Sanders this week helped us out a lot. And then before that, we had Degeneron, Can't Make an Eagle, The Boss, Armac, Karmic, and of course, Evan Daniel helped us out too during the draft. So that was nice. And speaking of Evan Daniel, he's here. He's back. First time in a couple months, I think. So Evan, how have you been? Yeah, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been busy with with college basketball. I gave you some pointers on that. NBA playoffs has been in full swing. And I think I told you this middle of the season when February after the Super Bowl rolls around, my goal is to forget every single thing I've learned in the football season. I forget who's on what team. I forget everything and then relearn it over the summer. So here we are in the way too early NFL chat. I know you do this year round, every day, every hour. And I like to focus on some other sports, take some time off from the NFL season and then get back into it. So if I forget certain players, if I forget who's the quarterback of what team, forgive me. But this is my way too early NFL power rankings, which I rushed ahead so we can have an honest and fun conversation. So hopefully I can bring some good insight for you tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I never think it's way too early. Obviously, you just said I do this year round. I always see people say the 2026 NFL draft is in 11 months from now, and I always see people say this is my way too early 2026 NFL mock draft, and I'm like, I'm looking at my 2027 NFL mock draft already. So it's never too early. I think you can always do it. But I thought you recommended this. We go through our power rankings first, get a bearing of how we view these teams, and then we'll get into the spreads and find out which ones are just way off and maybe see if there are any worth betting right now. All right, so I don't know how you wanted to do the power rankings, compare and contrast them. I have groups, as you guys know, Group A being the elite teams, Group B being very good teams, Group C being average, Group D is bad, and Group F is the worst of the worst. So I figured that I'll list my Group A teams, and then maybe you can tell me where you have them. I don't know if that works, but
sure, yeah, we can go through your groups, kind of group by group. I think that's a quick way to do it. We don't want to spend 20 minutes on 32 teams.
Yeah.
So I think by group makes sense.
Okay. All right. So Group A, I think I have 7 off the top of my head. Number 1, Philadelphia Eagles, the winners of the Super Bowl. Group 2, number 2, Buffalo Bills. Might have some disagreements there, but I think you would agree that they're in Group A. Baltimore Ravens, I finally have them in Group A. We had this long debate last year about where to put the Ravens. I finally have seen the light. Although I do like some of the moves they made this offseason to strengthen their secondary.
Remember, this is a regular season power rating, so I get it. Once the playoff starts, you can drop them into tier C.
Right.
But for now, regular season Ravens definitely have to be in Group A.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, Mark Andrews, if he didn't have all the screw-ups, they may have won that game. So, all right, Ravens, they're 3. The Rams are number 4, the closest team to beating the Eagles in last year's playoffs. I really like the team. They have Devontae Adams now. Number 5, Kansas City Chiefs. Some expect them to drop off. Curious to hear what you have to say about that. Number 6, I was right. There are 7 teams. Number 6, the Washington Redskins, who Cassandra and a few others are very angry that I am betting them on the exactas. I have I paired them up with the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens in all my exactas. And then number 7, the Vikings. That might be our disagreement here. I'm not sure. I love this team. I love the roster. So what are there any teams you disagree with? Like who are your teams at the top?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I think there's too many teams for your elite kind of tier 1 group, right? Group A. Having the Vikings in the same group as some of those other teams to me just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I just don't think they're nearly on the same level. I like that you go by tiers. I mean, my power ratings are pretty tight, right? So you like to have from a numbers, when you convert to a number, I like to have my number somewhere 16, 17 team like a 0, right? Because everyone has to be relative to somebody else.
Right.
They all play each other. It's the same league. You want to start with that average team being your dead center. Some years there's obviously more than 16 teams in the top half. Some years there's less than 16 teams. Why? Because injuries happen and we don't just adjust everybody when 3 teams lose their quarterback and now all of a sudden there's only 14 teams instead of 16 or 17 teams that are quote unquote above average. So I have 5 teams that would be considered my group A. I start with the Eagles. I agree with you if you want to scroll back to the top there. So the Eagles are definitely the number 1 team. My fear about the Eagles, as I would fear every year about the team that wins the Super Bowl, is simply the Super Bowl hangover, right? So last year, we all know that I had the Ravens slightly ahead of Philly. Philly proved me wrong. Really, it was Jalen Hurts who kind of took that next step, playing the way he did throughout the playoffs, especially in the Super Bowl, and keeping their foot on the gas, which is a big thing that I always look for in coaching staff. And having the Eagles number 1, I think, makes a lot of sense. I want to come back to the Eagles in a minute because of something else that's kind of a theme for generally how I look at off season. So we'll come back to the Eagles in a moment. I have the Ravens number 2. So who do you have? You have Buffalo number 2. I have Buffalo number 3. So I'm flip-flopping with you there. Although really great that I believe right off the bat, week 1, Ravens at Bills. Really nice rematch. And that's a game we'll talk about a little bit later. So really, obviously, throughout the season, we look at situation. For me, it's so important to see who won their last game. Shifting 10 seconds to the NBA, if you bet the NBA team coming off of a loss in this year's playoffs, simply you lose the last game, bet them the next game ATS, you're hitting over 2/3 of your games, just as a situational conversation. So it's very important to me to look situationally throughout the season, where you've played, who you played last, who you're playing next. So Ravens and Bills, to me, I have kind of 1B and 1C right behind Philly. So I can't dispute having Buffalo ahead of them. That's totally fair. I have the Lions number 4, and I see you don't have them in tier 1. And this, coming back to my Eagles conversation, I assume that's because of the coaching changes on the OC and DC side. And that's huge because we saw this with the Eagles a couple of years ago where they lost their OC and DC and fell off a cliff. That was 2 years ago. Last year, offseason, probably the most important move in the offseason. We could talk here. We could sit and talk about draft players. Listen, let's be fair. You can grade this a lot better than I can, but how many of these guys in the draft really make that much of a difference? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. I don't think there's really a good way to handicap because I think there's so much guesswork that will go into that. But what you can handicap is coaching changes and, of course, OCs and DCs. The biggest move of last year's season that really kind of led to the Super Bowl was Vic Fangio. Mm-hmm. He took an Eagles defense from 2 years ago that was really bad, that fell off a cliff, that got roasted in the playoffs in Tampa, at home against Tampa, fell terrible in the last month and a half, 2 months of the season, and he turned that defense into an elite unit right away with rookies, with young players. Yes, they made some moves, but Vic Fangio was a monster. And I would worry, and I guess this is why you have them, outside of your top 7, is Detroit losing Ben Johnson could make all the difference in the world. We don't know, right? I know they promoted. Did they promote from within? Or I think they actually they brought in somebody new.
They brought in a guy. He coached them before, and then he left, and then they brought him back.
Right. Okay. So he was with Denver. He's now the OC. So is there any sort of continuity from last year to this year? Because Goff looked like an all-pro quarterback. Does Goff look like the way he did back when he was with the Rams, which was good enough to get to a Super Bowl with the team around him, but certainly not the MVP type of player that he's been for the last 2 years under Johnson? So for now, I'm going to continue to keep Detroit because I love Campbell. Their defense lost so many guys last year. They're getting guys healthy. Obviously, Hutchinson is huge. And I still think they have they have great offensive line. They have really solid weapons. and they have a coaching philosophy through Campbell of foot on the gas. So I'm going to keep them short term in that top 5. I have them at number 4 until I see otherwise. If I see early on that there's reason to believe that this team is kind of falling off and they're because they've lost their coordinator and the coordinator is being more important than the coach, I'll be quick to make an adjustment. And then my last team there is the Chiefs. I do think there's a lot of regression coming from the Chiefs. And we said this last year. Now, obviously, schedules matter, so I don't want to go through schedules now. But the Chiefs won a lot of games that they shouldn't have won. Or we can say what I had said going into the playoffs was that the Chiefs did exactly what they needed to do to win games. They didn't need to win by 10 or by margin. They were going to do exactly the bare minimum to win games by 3, 2. But they did get lucky. Let's be fair. They got lucky in a bunch of games. They got lucky against the Raiders in a game that they almost blew. They got lucky against Carolina, a game that they shouldn't have been close. They got lucky against Denver. So there were a number of games that they won that they shouldn't have won, and really it starts with the offensive line. So and they lost Tooney. Now I know they've made some additions, but they lost arguably their best offensive lineman from last season, and that could cause some early disruptions. And if you can't protect, you can't win. So that's one of the reasons why I like Detroit has the continuity. They added depth to the offensive line. So I'm going to keep Detroit up there, and I'm going to keep the Chiefs in that tier 1 just because they have Mahomes. So if you have Mahomes as quarterback, you're going to be in my tier 1, even if you're at the bottom part of tier 1. So that's my tier 1. You have the Rams and Vikings. So I have the Rams number 6. So we're right there with the Rams. I think it's a very, very solid roster. Love the coaching staff, love the roster. I'm down with the Vikings at number 12. And that's because I don't know what McCarthy's going to be. I understand that Darnold is not as good as what he showed in 14 of the 18 games that he played last year. He played against Detroit. He got roasted. He played. There were 2 other games that they lost, and he looked like a shell. But to credit to the coaching staff for making him look like what he did, that's the benefit that McCarthy might have is the coaching staff. But I'm not ready to put J.J. McCarthy, who I was not a huge fan of at Michigan, I'm not ready to put him into that elite tier that he's going to go toe-to-toe with some of the other elite quarterbacks in the league, like Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, or what Detroit would bring to the table. So I have Minnesota down at 12. I love the roster. Their defense last year was incredible. We were on them early on after seeing what they had. But until McCarthy proves that he's going to be at least a B-plus quarterback, I'm not putting them in my top 10.
Comment here from Stu. The Eagles, 2 new coordinators, started off 10-1. I remember saying, like, when they were 10-1, I had them like 8th or 9th in my power rankings, and people got mad at me. I'm like, this team's not good. They barely scraped by Sam Howell twice. Like they were not winning games convincingly, and we saw them really drop off at the end. They lost to Drew Lock Monday Night Football. Like they were looking pretty bad. Darnold lost to 2 teams, the Lions and the Rams. The Rams that Thursday night game, and then the Rams again in the playoffs, and then the Lions on 2 occasions. So
you had them 8th in your power rankings. I'm just looking back now 2 years. I had the Eagles through week 12. They were my number 1 team. So they were 10-1, and I had them way up. So I was completely duped by the coordinator change. It may have been, I'm not going to go through their schedule now from 2020, was it 22, but I throughout the entire, I'm looking week 1, the lowest I had them was going into week 5, and they were still pretty much like a top 3 team for me. And I wasn't a believer in them falling off the cliff. I know they lost. I know they got killed by the Niners. I think the Niners put 40 on them in the game that year. But I just continued to chalk it up to, okay, it was a bad game in a bad situation. I did not go into that season thinking that those 2 coordinators made such a difference. So I'm dubious now. I'm skeptical of the Lions with the coordinator, especially Ben Johnson, who's been such a hot name lately. But I'm not ready to take the Lions and dump them out because their roster is amazing. They're getting guys back. And when you handicap offensive lines, I know, and there's a few people that I'll read over the summer looking at offensive lines. The only thing I can do now to handicap offensive lines is look at continuity. So I don't like when teams bring in 2 or 3 new starters on the offensive line because I think it's really all about your familiarity with one another. It's a unit that's got to work together. Detroit has that. We know they have that. So if I know they have a great line, I know they're getting good guys on defense back, I know they have weapons, they just don't have the same play caller, so that could mean a lot. So I'm going to keep them where I have them now at number 4, but I did knock off a 1.5 from where I ended last season, so I have them right now plus 5.5 instead of a plus 7. Like if you gave me Eagles Lions on a neutral, I have the Eagles favored by 2.5 points. Is that light? You might have that at 3.5. Okay, fair enough. I still think the Lions are in that upper echelon of the league that they're deserving of. They shouldn't be more than a 3-point underdog against anybody on neutral field.
Yeah. So I think I was confused. I put the Eagles at 8th at some point. And I remember people yelling at me for that. But when they were 10-1, I had them 3rd in my rankings. I never thought they were the best team. But that record definitely tricked me. But yeah, that team was just scraping by like mediocre opponents. And then when they got to the top part of the schedule, they got destroyed on a lot of occasions. So the
one team I
coordinator.
didn't hit on where there was the Redskins. You have the Redskins at 6. I have the Redskins at 8. So
Okay.
there's one team that I have that you haven't mentioned. That's again not my tier A, but right there in tier B or tier 2. I agree with you. I love what Washington's done with the roster. They added some players. They added weapons. I'm not a Debo fan. Obviously, a Niner fan. I think Debo is more of an offensive lineman or a fullback. Although the criticism he's taken, maybe he's got himself back into shape. Because outside of 1 year, a couple of years ago, he has not had good seasons. It's completely fabricated that this guy is an all-star level player. He's had one good season. And he can't catch, and he's not fast. So if he's getting older and he's losing he doesn't run routes well. He doesn't get open. You throw him a screen pass, and he's a bulldozer. That's great. And maybe Jaden gets him the ball in space, and he can be productive for them. He's a very good number 3 receiver, which is probably what he is on that team. I know, obviously, McLaurin is much better than him. Let's go down to I got to type in Commanders, not Redskins. So you have McLaurin and Noah Brown. I think he's a very nice number 3 receiver. If Debo is your number 3 receiver, you're in a good position. And obviously, Tunsil to me is the biggest addition for Washington. Putting an all-pro level left tackle on that line, to me, makes all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's giving one of the better young quarterbacks in the NFL more protection.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go wrong there. With the real quick on the Vikings, I love the roster. They only lost to 2 teams last year. They didn't have Christian Darrisaw for the second half of last year, and they added 3 new offensive linemen. Obviously, we don't know what the first round guard is going to look like. Although I do like him coming out of Ohio State, but the two interior linemen they added from the Colts. I like that a lot. And then you mentioned the defense, the coaching's incredible. And they don't need JJ McCarthy to be an elite quarterback. They need him to be an average quarterback. And I think
that's what I said. They need him to be a B plus. For them to be a top 7 team, he can't just be a B level, dink and dunk type of player, because then he's going to look like Bo Nix did last year, right? He's not going to make plays, but he's not going to make mistakes. So if you're an average team, that's what you have. You have a quarterback that's not making mistakes. If you have a quarterback that's turning the ball over, you're going to look like the Colts from last year, right? You could be Anthony Richardson, where you're going to be you're going to be an 8-win team. But if you're putting them at number 7, that means you're putting them in that 11 to 12 win potential range, and you're not going to get 11 to 12 wins. And I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but you're not going to get there if you have a quarterback that's not above average. So I need to see that first.
I think they need him to be Jimmy Garoppolo at least. Like Garoppolo got the team to the Super Bowl,
Garoppolo put up, and I don't like Garoppolo, but Garoppolo's statistics based on the coaching staff that put him in the position that they did, Garoppolo was putting up all-pro numbers. He threw for 4,500 yards. Yeah. My counter to the fact that I think Garoppolo was a backup, and I was right, Garoppolo is a backup. You take him off that system, and he's nowhere. My comp to that was Nick Mullins, who played a season for the Niners and also threw for 4,000 yards. Let me see J.J. McCarthy throw for 4,000 yards. Now, he's got Jefferson. He's got some great players there. Now, they start the season at Chicago, and then they have a bunch of easy, winnable games. And they're home against Atlanta and Cincinnati, at Pittsburgh and at Cleveland. So you'll know within 4 or 5 weeks if this guy is, an above-average talent. Because if they don't win 3 out of those 5 games, if they're under 500, that sets them up after their bye. Philly, at Chargers, at Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, at Green Bay, at Seattle, Washington. That's a murderous middle of the schedule right there. So they better win 3 or 4 of those first 5 games, or they're going to be a below 500 team. And they won't be in the top 7.
We'll see. I just think they have so much talent. And remember, this is Kevin O'Connell's handpicked guy. Like, this guy knows offense. He turned Sam Darnold into a really good quarterback.
No doubt.
So I think I wasn't crazy about McCarthy either, but if O'Connell sees something in someone, then I'm willing to believe him. So that's why I'm going to bet them this year. The over win totals for them to win the division, etc. I think they have a good chance to do it. But
I
anyway,
should point out when I say I have them number 12.
Yeah.
So I have I said I have the Redskins number 8. I have the Redskins +3. I have the Vikings +2.
Okay.
So from a numbers perspective, yeah, number 12 versus number 8, but it's really like a point, maybe a point and a half of difference when it comes to making a spread. So I don't disagree. I think they're a good team because of the roster, but I'm not going to put them in that Chiefs category. I'm definitely not putting them ahead of the Lions until further notice right now.
Oh yeah, I definitely like him more than the Lions. And Connell was winning games with NASA quarter. Yeah, the spaceman, Joshua Dobbs. Yeah, he was. He really was. All right, let's get to Group B. So we have the Lions here at number 8. I can't put them down too far. I love the talent. I do like Campbell. I just think losing both coordinators, I think it's going to be too much for them. But they're still a good team. Number 9, the Chargers. Number 10, the Denver Broncos. Number 11, San Francisco 49ers. Kind of curious where you have them. Number 12, Green Bay Packers. And number 13, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is assuming Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh and it's not Mason Rudolph. So what do you think about these teams? Where do you have these teams?
So I mentioned the Lions already. So the Lions I have at number 4.
Yeah.
You have the Chargers at number 9. I have the Chargers number 11. Okay, so I'm right there with you on the Chargers pretty much. Denver number 10, I'm a little bit lower on Denver. I have Denver down at number 16, which is slightly above average team. And Denver, Nick's had a couple of moments last year where he impressed me, but for the most part, I was not overly impressed with the entire season. I know they picked up a couple of defensive players. They picked up some of my guys, Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga. Both of them were hurt. Both of them coming off multiple injuries. Dre obviously came back and then sat out in the season. Hufanga's been hurt each of the last 2 seasons. So they have big signings, but I'd like to see them put it together a little bit more. Nick Benito was excellent for them last year, so he's an up-and-coming star on the pass rushing side. But Nick's didn't do much, right? Nick's just didn't make mistakes. A lot of it was dink and dunk. A lot of it was short passes. So I don't have them as highly rated yet. I ended them last season as a slightly below average team, a team that, they made the playoffs, but that was a product of their schedule. So I'm not ready to put them into that upper level yet. So I go after I mentioned the Chiefs. So I have the Rams number 6. I have the Bengals at number 7, and you have the Bengals. I see way further down.
They're not a good team.
I love that offense, and I think Burrow with those receivers. I understand. Obviously, that's caveated by Hendrickson, because if he's not playing, then their defense is going to be just even worse than what it was. So I would be very skeptical of their defense if he doesn't get back on the field. I don't know what's going on there, but right now, to my knowledge, he doesn't have a contract, and he'll probably hold out for a little while. But I right now have Cincinnati just because their offense. Let me just see who else you put into this mix. Chargers, Broncos, Niners. You have at 11. I have the Niners number 10.
Okay.
I have the Texans, Niners, and Chargers basically all tied. So I'm right there with you on the Niners in that range. I have the Packers at number 13, so we're right in line with our Packers. And my Steelers number is way different because it's not based on Aaron Rodgers. It's based on Mason Rudolph. So right now I have the Steelers down at number 20. Okay. Now, if they get Rodgers, that will probably catapult them above a couple of teams that I have ahead of them right now. And really for me with the Steelers, their defense is stacked. Their defense is going to be great again. But right now with Mason Rudolph, their offense is a misery. So if they have Mason Rudolph starting a quarterback, they're one of the worst offenses in the league. And,
although Roman Wilson did say that Mason Rudolph is an elite quarterback. So
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not. And you know what? Even with Rodgers, and I was on the Jets last year over 7.5 wins, which we lost. Rodgers is a statue. Rodgers hasn't played well in the last couple of games that he's played. Yeah. He hasn't really played in 2 years, right? So am I really ready to go bank on a new quarterback who's probably sitting out training camp, who's going to sign with the team, who doesn't really care, who's not really learning a playbook? He's going to kind of ad-lib a little bit. Yeah, they got DK, but I don't see that really working out. They're probably an 8-9 win team. I'll probably lose again by betting the Steelers under. Or maybe I'll wait a little bit to bet the Steelers under just to kind of see what they really have. And I just have to study the schedule there. They
open at Jets. Yeah.
They open at the Jets. Of course they do. Of course they do.
That's the under after that win.
Yeah, I'll probably wait for after the Jets game. And then they play Seattle. They play a home game against Seattle. They play at New England, what I don't think is that good. So I'll probably wait to bet on the Steeler under until kind of middle of the season, see what they have, see what they're doing. And then maybe TJ Watt. He has a tendency to get hurt, gets banged up a little bit. So
Yep.
I'll probably wait on the Steelers under. If I can get a good price at some point, week 3, 4, 5, I'll probably take that. So I don't have a strong belief in Rodgers. And if they don't have Rodgers, that team's not any good. That's a 6-win team, maybe a 5-win team. If it's
I heard that maybe Kirk Cousins might be in the mix if they don't get Rodgers.
Kirk Cousins is another statue.
Yeah, it's definitely true. But I think either way, they're getting one of these veterans. So I don't think it's going to be Mason Rudolph, as much as Roman Wilson may want it to happen. So,
right.
I mentioned this a few times. My father-in-law makes one bet every single year. It's the Steelers over every single year, and he wins every time. it's crazy. They always go over by like half a win every time.
That's exactly right. They're your typical. Tomlin will beat the teams he shouldn't beat and lose to the teams he should.
Yep.
And when they're coming off a loss, they're a good team to bet. When they're coming off a win, they're a good team to fade. And that's Mike Tomlin for you.
Yep,
one of the
absolutely.
most overrated coaches in football history.
I like Tom. I know that like he makes stupid decisions sometimes, but the way he gets his teams ready to go against elite competition, I don't know. I think there's something to that, but and to be fair, he hasn't had a good quarterback for a while. Like he had Big Ben in his later years, and then like just Drek after that. Like nothing. There's nothing there. So they haven't had a good quarterback in almost a decade now. So Slu says Arthur Smith wants to reunite Jonnu Smith for this offense, so that could be another weapon that they get. So that would help. They already have Frymouth, obviously, but it's his fault they don't have a good quarterback. It's I can't argue that at all. All right, so can we move on to Group C? I think because our disagreement with the Bengals, they're in Group C. Spoiler alert, but I think everything we agreed on. You had Denver lower. I love their defense, and I think you're absolutely right about what you said about Bo Nix. But I think that now he has experience, like he might do. I feel like he's going to take a step forward. So,
well, you wrote here in your write up that their wins, they're 0-6 straight up, 1-5 against average or better teams.
Yep.
So that's a big leap of faith for you to now stick them. The record at 10-7 looked good, but that record is very, very misleading. So I don't have Denver where you do, but I believe that they're an above average team. I have them, my spoiler, slightly ahead of the Cowboys. So that's kind of like right where I break the line on average 0 versus a below 0 type of team.
That makes sense. All right, let's go to Group C. I have Atlanta number 14, Tampa Bay number 15. So those teams right next to each other, even though Atlanta to win the division is like plus 230 or something. So I'm going to be betting that. Number 16, Chicago Bears. Number 17, Houston Texans. I know you have them higher because you said you had them tied with the Chargers, I think. Then number 18, Cincinnati Bengals. Number 19, Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 20, Arizona Cardinals. And last but not least, 21, Las Vegas Raiders. As you can see, I have Dallas in Group D, but we can talk about them in a bit. Where do you have these teams ranked?
So Falcons, I had them a little bit higher first, and now they seem to have dropped because as I went through the teams that I had originally behind them, I have the Falcons down at 22. I don't really know why. So this is kind of one of those weird teams. Like I'm not sure. I'm such a believer in Penix right now. Definitely want to see a little bit more of him. I just have a bunch of other, like I have them -2. So I have them as a slightly below average team down at number 22. Tampa, I like a lot. I have Tampa at 14. I think they're an explosive type of team. You have them at 15. I have 14, so we're pretty much lockstep there. I have the Bears right there at 15, so we're pretty much in sync on Tampa, Chicago. Now Houston, I have number 9. Now I know Stroud had that sophomore slump. Their defense last year was awesome. It really, really impressed me. The secondary was amazing. They got pass rush. I just didn't like what we saw, and we talked about this from our earlier shows with Slowick and the offensive play calling. And then obviously when Tank Dell went down, they kind of lost their weapons. He was playing alone. I mean, he had it was not much going on. The running game didn't work. The offensive line was dreadful. And I found myself watching them like, hey, it's like every single series it's 3rd and long, and Stroud's bailing them out with Nico Collins. But their play calling was a disaster. It set them behind the sticks, and if it wasn't for their defense, they would have lost a lot of games. So they won with their defense. I think their offense bounces back a little bit. Who is their play caller now? Nick Caley, somebody from the Rams. So
Mhm.
when I look at that, like I don't know much about Nick Caley. I just know that he comes from the McVay coaching staff. So I have a little bit more optimism based on that than the Bobby Slowick, who kind of fizzled out a little bit. So I'm a little bit higher on Houston. I have them right now tied with the Niners and the Chargers at plus 2.5. So it's just a team that I believe in. I like D'Amico Ryans. I love the defense. I think Stroud is better than what he showed last year. He's probably not as great as what he showed his rookie season, but I definitely have him right now in my fake quarterback rankings. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, and I have him right now. If you look at quarterbacks, I have Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson. Okay, your tier one. I have Hurts, Jaden Daniels, and Herbert right behind them, and then I have Stroud. So I right behind Stroud, I have Stafford, Goff, and players like that. So I still think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league. I worry that they lost Tunsil. That's obviously a big loss. So we talked about continuity on the offensive line. And right now in their offensive line actually doesn't look very good at all. So outside of Titus Howard, from a PFF standpoint, nobody's graded anywhere close to average. I mean, especially on the right side, it looks pretty bleak. So that would concern me big time for this team. As a matter of fact, I wrote in my notes, I have like a little thing, key factors. The only thing it says there is OL. Mm. Like, if your offensive line is bad and Stroud's not very mobile, he'll move around in the pocket, but he's not creating with his legs outside the pocket, and that would worry me about this team. So I'm not smart enough to handicap how some of these guys are going to perform on the offensive line. I know Cam Robinson's now their left tackle. That's obviously a big downgrade from Tunsil. So we'll see how guys can stay healthy or how guys could form a continuity together on that line. But that's why I have the Texans right now at number 9. Let me see who else you have. See, I really like Cincinnati just because of the offense. I get it. The defense was terrible last year, but this team is an elite offensive unit, and they could score with anybody. If they're healthy, if Burrow's healthy and he's throwing the ball at Chase and Higgins, this team is going to be a dangerous team to play. Now, they always lose week 1 for some reason. And they blew a couple of games that they shouldn't have lost. Outside of that, I really wanted them to make that playoff game last year instead of Denver. That would have been a really, really fun playoff game, them in Buffalo. And we saw a couple of times Cincinnati, Buffalo in the playoffs. So I'm going to keep Cincinnati high right now. Let me see who else you have. Jacksonville at 19. I have Jacksonville down at 21, so we're pretty close there. You have Arizona at 20. I have them at 18. We're close there. And the Raiders at 21. I have at 23. So no real disagreement on those teams.
Yeah, looks like Cincinnati, we have our biggest disagreement. I love the offense.
I have Cincinnati and Houston.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go to Cincinnati first. Cincinnati, I love their offensive playmakers. I do not like their offensive line at all. I think that they're going to have some major issues blocking, especially at guard. I think their guards are terrible. Their left tackle last year, Orlando Brown, was expected to be better. He was not. The right tackle is a bad situation. And their defense is going to be – I think their defense is the worst in the NFL. If Hendrickson doesn't play, and it sounds like they're just at a major impasse. Like, I really don't like that situation. It sounds like he could definitely hold out or even retire. Like, he's been threatening that. And they're not even close on the numbers. So,
yes, if Hendrickson's not playing, their defense is so bad that's going to be a great team to bet the over week in, week out.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. If Hendrickson's not there, that's a problem, and the offensive line could be a problem as well.
Yeah. Chiefs lost on purpose to avoid the Bengals too. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, they're definitely better than Denver last year. I think Denver is better this year though. Again, the offensive line bothers me as well. And it's not like T. Higgins has been healthy either. And Joe Burrow has been banged up here and there too. So I really don't trust this team at all. Like I'm looking to fade them in most opportunities this year. As far as Houston, the offense, you touched on the offensive line. That offensive line looks pretty bad right now. And something that really bothered me last year was that the way that C.J. Stroud handled the Tank Dell injury, it just looked like he mentally fell apart for 2 games.
Yep.
And I just wonder if he has the mental fortitude to just be a great quarterback in the NFL. Now, he was great as a rookie, but there are no expectations. Now, and there are expectations now. Like, I just wonder if he's going to just trend downward for most of his career. I don't know. I could be wrong, could be way off, but that didn't sit well with me. Plus, they all lost the receivers, except for Nico Collins. Yeah. Stephon Diggs is gone. Tank Dell, obviously injured. They have a couple of rookies. They have Christian Kirk. So maybe one of those rookies will
I think
work out. Maybe
Christian Kirk's a good pickup. Christian Kirk's a really nice pickup. He's a nice slot receiver for them.
Yeah, I agree, but he's so hurt all the time. Like Evan's gone. I'll talk for a couple seconds here. Christian Kirk is injured all the time, so I don't really trust him to stay healthy, which is just problematic. So Sue says Diggs has to do training program on a yacht. Those special trainers, yeah, those women who were he had with him, they look like really physically fit. Like they could get him to perform up to like way above expectations. Like I saw a report saying that Stephon Diggs is not going to be ready until week 4. And I'm like, and now that you say that, so I'm like, well, he's going to be ready for preseason week 2. Like he'll be fine. Those women will get him into shape like no time. So I think Evan's texting me. Maybe his internet went out. Let me tell him to sign back in. Okay. Yeah, his feed went out. So hashtag Daddy Diggs. Yeah, that I don't know, like why people are making such a big fuss about that boat thing. I don't know. Like I'm more worried about his torn ACL. I actually quote tweeted that today. I don't really care. And then someone pointed out, it's like, well, he's doing drugs. I'm like, well, you're talking to. I didn't say it this way, but I'm like, you're talking to like someone super libertarian. I don't like that. Didn't even enter my mind that that like he might be doing something illegal. I don't care. I think it should be all legal. But I guess he could get in trouble for that. But like, I don't know. I mean, the NFL like sometimes drags his feet with that. Like Rashee Rice may not be suspended until 2026. So that is I don't know. Like by the time he's suspended, he might be out of the NFL anyway. So it looks like Evan is back.
Yeah, I'm going to log in from my phone now. I don't know why. I don't know what happened with my computer, but of course, because I lost internet in my computer. Anyway, I was talking about Tank Dell at the time. Yeah. And again, it's really for me with Houston all about the offensive line, because if they don't have pass protection, that's going to be a big issue for Houston going forwards. But I do like, there was a couple of weeks he lost Tank Dell, he mentally checked out, and hopefully that's not going to be the case coming into a new season.
Yeah, but when you were off, we had a nice discussion about Stephon Diggs and his boat adventures.
Stephon Diggs and his boat, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that
Bill Belichick would be totally cool with that. I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to be cool with that.
That's definitely true. All right, let's get to Group D. I had the Cowboys down here at 22. I was like either Group C or Group D. I hate Brian Schottenheimer that much, so I put him at 22. The Colts at 23. The Seattle Seahawks at 24. Carolina Panthers 25. Miami Dolphins 26. New York Jets 27. New England Patriots 28. So the 3 other AFC East teams all in a row, and then the New York Giants at 29. So 3 teams Group F. So where do you have these teams?
So I have Dallas at 17, which is probably way too high.
Okay.
I agree with you that I am not a Brian Schottenheimer fan at all, but I think anything is really an upgrade to Mike McCarthy. So it can't be worse. Obviously, Dak coming back is certainly going to help them. And I just feel like this team is your prototypical average football team. Now, Micah Parsons is still there. They still have some weapons. They still have CeeDee Lamb. So I found myself, I originally had them like in the 21, 22 range, and then I started bumping them up. I have them slightly ahead of the Cardinals. You have the Cardinals, we said at 20. So I have Dallas slightly ahead of the Cardinals, and I might flip-flop that. I then have the Colts, so I totally agree with you. You have the Colts at 23. I have them at 19. I mentioned the Steelers before. Without Rodgers, I have them at number 20. Jacksonville, I said I have 21. Falcons were at 22. Let me see here. You have Seattle at 24. I have Seattle at 26.
Okay.
I don't like Seattle. I think this is going to be a bad year for Seattle. I'm not a Sam Darnold guy, and now he's going to a new team. I think he's going to regress to being what he was pre-Minnesota.
Yeah. Carolina
is a team that I have way lower, so we'll hit on Carolina in a little bit. Miami 26. We're right lockstep. I have them at 25. You have the Jets 27. I have the Jets 27 as well. And then I have New England. I have New England above that. I have New England at 24, just ahead of Miami. I like New England more so because of Vrabel. This team's going to overachieve. I'm not a Drake May guy. I worry about the offensive line. Yes, they brought in some weapons. Of course, you mentioned Diggs on the boat. But I just think this team is going to be better because of Vrabel. So whatever they were a year ago, and also with McDaniels now coming back as the OC, he's definitely proven that he has an offensive coordinator positive track record. So I think that helps the team grow. I don't think this team's going to have a very good record. I wonder if they know how to win games, but I definitely think with Vrabel, they're going to be much, much better. And then I'm with you on the Giants. I have the Giants at number 28. So we're right. We're right. Games.
Okay. Sound like the biggest achievement was Carolina. What'd you have in 30, 31?
So Carolina's, I was shocked by this because I originally just threw the Browns and Saints into 31 and 32 in whatever order you want to have them. And when I was looking at Carolina, I just kept lowering them and lowering them and lowering them. And I have Carolina too. I agree with you. We talked about this last year. Bryce Young looked somewhat competent in the last couple of weeks of the season. No question about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not a Bryce Young person. And I think Canales did a great job getting him out and putting him into a position where he could be successful. And credit to Canales for doing that. But I do not like this team at all. I do not like their defense. I gave their defense an F. When I looked at all the defenses throughout the league, I think they're the worst defense in the league. They were a historically bad defense towards the end of last year. They were the only defense that gave up 6 yards per play for a season. I don't see what they really did to get much better defensively. Maybe you could tell me if you see something defensively that they're a better team. Obviously, Derek Brown is Derek Brown back on their defense?
Yeah, he's coming back, yeah.
So they have Derek Brown back, but outside of Derek Brown, J.C. Horn? Is he what people tout him out to be? I don't see the talent across the defense. Their offensive line got better last year, so there's another year of continuity with them. I'm not a Pat McMillan fan. I don't know much about him. Maybe he's going to be great. If he's not really good, they don't really have any real weapons that I'm concerned about. I don't look at this team. And the Saints, everybody has the Saints number 32. I get it. But I was looking at the Saints the Saints are bad, and I don't like Shuck as a starting NFL quarterback. But this team, to me, has slightly better defensive players. They still have Cam Jordan. So maybe I'm wrong. I actually have the Saints and Panthers tied at both minus. So I'm way down on the Panthers. And I was well behind the market last year on the Panthers. I was betting against the Panthers for the season win total, betting against the Panthers since week one from the beginning, not to win games, to not cover spreads. So I'm not a fan of Carolina. I have them right down at 32.
You know what gets me with Carolina is their offensive line play. I think it's really good, except for center. I like their line a lot. And so I think that may have boosted them in my rankings. But I think looking at this, I think I should have them behind this trifecta of AFC.
Well, you have them behind Miami, and that's interesting because I don't like Miami much, but we have to be fair. Miami's healthy, and I don't like their defense. But when Miami's healthy, they're actually, their offense works, and that's thanks to the coaching staff who kind of regressed last year. But I don't see how Carolina is a better team. I don't like Miami. I like betting Miami team win unders, but I don't see Carolina as a better team than Miami.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Carolina probably should be under these three teams. Now they did add to the defense, Sean Wharton and Bobby Brown. I think they're two solid defensive linemen. Not great, but they're going to be better than what they had last year. Derek Brown's coming back, so defensive line's going to be much better. Patrick Jones on the outside, he had 7 sacks last year for Minnesota, so that'll help the edge rush. And then Trayvon Moehrig, who's a pretty good safety, that helps their secondary. So it's like nothing amazing, but like some upgrades. I don't think they're going to be the worst defense in the NFL. They might be like 28th or 29th. But again, I do like their offensive line. I do hate Bryce Young though. And I made this point before, but like I think it's pretty funny that people bring up the Panthers as like, potential sleeper team this year. We had a guest on a couple of months ago who said that he likes the Panthers to win the division. And I'm like, based on what? And he brought up the games last year. And this is what I'm getting to. Like everyone who is higher on the Panthers points to those 3 games. The 3 games being against the Chiefs, where they went down to the wire, against the Eagles, where Xavier Legette dropped the game-winning touchdown, and the first game against Tampa in overtime when Chuba Hubbard fumbled in overtime in field goal range. So, the Panthers could have won all 3 of those games. Here's the thing, like they lost all 3 of those games, and like people are like high on them because of those 3 games, and yet they caught those 3 teams, Chiefs, Eagles, and Bucks, in like very low motivation spots. Like I don't think any of those teams brought their A game against them, even their C game. Like it was definitely the Eagles F game. Like they gave zero at they put forth zero effort in that game, and yet they still won. And I think like when the Panthers finally played against teams that took them seriously, you had Dallas destroy them, and then you had Tampa destroy them the second time. Albeit Carolina had the flu that game, but still.
That's exactly.
So,
I was going to say exactly that point. Is that sometimes there's letdown spots for other teams. Right. Now, as far as divisional bets, I'm looking at FanDuel right now plus 390. There's no value in Carolina 4-1, none. Now, if the Saints are 11-1, you want to tell me that all right, Tampa Bay is not that great, Atlanta's not that great, and that division's completely wide open. Great, give me 11-1 instead of 4-1. Now, I'm not betting either one of those teams to win the division, but I at least can make a case. You want to tell me I'm taking a team at 10-1, maybe I can get a hedge opportunity down the road. Sure, but 4-1. What kind of value is 4-1? I'm sure you'll get Carolina better than 4-1 at some point later in the season. And I'm just trying to look now at the beginning of their schedule. They open up back-to-back road games against they're not great teams, but they're playing on the road twice, Jacksonville and Arizona, and they're not favored in either one of those games. I'm trying to look through my calendars, like when are they going to be favored? How many games are they going to be favored in throughout the season? They're easier games against teams like New England that are on the road. The Jets games on the road. So they play the Saints home and home. You can't tell me they'll be favored in the home game. Maybe they're dogs in the road game. So where are they favored throughout the season? Like they're not going to win 10, 11 games. I just don't see it.
Oh yeah, me neither. I think I should lower them. I definitely with you there. I can see Patriots going over. Their win total is 8.5, which kind of like blew my mind. Like I expected it to be 6.5. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll take this over 6.5. And I saw 8.5. I'm like, whoa, I'm not touching this one. I do love Vrabel, but like this team is not very good. So I can't go over 8.5, but I'm a little scared about the other 8.5.
8.5 is a big number. By the way, the Carolina line is 6.5. So if somebody likes Carolina to win the division, you could take over 8.5 and get 2-1 on 8.5. They don't have to win the division. They have to win, be better than a 500 team. So if somebody think about that. You can bet over 8.5 at 2-1 or win the division at 4-1. I would much rather bet over 8.5 at 2-1 than winning the division at 4-1. Mm-hmm. So now, again, the winner of that division might actually win 9 or 10 games. But I would definitely be looking under 6.5. Again, I'm not going to be betting any of these things until later this summer. But as I really dive into the schedule and look through every single team and the situation as I progress throughout the week-to-week card, under 6.5 feels like a juicier number, especially at plus 20, than taking them to win the division. I just don't I don't see a lot of wins on that schedule. And I still, as well as Bryce Young played towards the end of the season, and well as a relative term, because the guy was totally incompetent for a year and a half. And then he looked somewhat competent in a couple of those games, but I'm still not a believer in Bryce Young. I need to see a full season of that guy looking like an NFL quarterback with the arm strength to throw outside the numbers versus playing against teams that are just letting down. And again, I don't like the weapons. So
yeah. McMillan will make him better. I don't think he's that great, but he's better than what they had last year at least. So it's a slight upgrade at least, Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe he's gonna be really good. I will see. I just like the fact that he said he doesn't watch football because he doesn't like it very much. It's like, okay,
yeah.
I think this pick, I've mentioned this a few times. I think this pick was all David Tepper, where he was embarrassed by Bryce Young because he took him over Stroud, and he's doing like everything in his power to make sure he improves. So I think like based on Charlie Campbell's sources, I think that the Panthers wanted to go Jalen Wright at 8. And I think Tepper stepped in once again. I was like, no, we need our quarterback to be good. Let's take the receiver. I was like, oh, this receiver's not that good. And so, it was, I don't know.
He's a big target. Where he's 6'4", 6'5", so he's a big target.
Yeah,
that's important, right? Their best receiver last year was Adam Thielen.
Yeah,
Thielen was amazing for them last year, and Leggett obviously was not. Thielen's still there, but if Adam Thielen is your best receiver, that's not great. And Adam Thielen's another year older, and he's a quick hamstring pull away from being out for a half a season. So, Ted McMillan better be a good receiver who can catch a pass, catch a jump ball, because Bryce Young's not throwing him open. So he's got to win those 50-50 balls. I just don't believe that Bryce Young is still is really an NFL quarterback. So as well, I think he's a backup. I think he's going to prove to be a backup. We'll see if he gets benched for Andy Dalton at some point this year. Last year, it was a game where he didn't get benched, but I think he got hurt. And then Dalton, or maybe he did get benched. And then Dalton came in that week 3 and won a game.
The Raiders game,
yeah. The Raider game that knocked me out of one of my survivors. So, so I remember that game very, very well. But I just think Bryce Young's a backup quarterback. So I have them down at number 31/32 with New Orleans. You have the Titans, and I have the Titans at number 29. I don't mind Cam Ward. I thought Cam Ward was nice, nice college winner, came back in a bunch of games. But I'm not ready to believe that he, with a new coaching staff and that roster around him, is going to be any better than right now. I have them -5. So I have them behind the Giants, just ahead of Cleveland. And I almost wanted to put Cleveland last just because of the organizational mess. I mean, that organization has no idea what they're doing. We don't know who's playing quarterback. We don't know who's playing anything. That's just top to bottom, not a team that I would want to have any part of. And this is a team that I liked a couple of years ago. And when they got Deshaun, I was a believer in them. I thought they were going to be a top 10, maybe top 12 team. And I was kind of riding them for a couple of weeks until the wheels fell off. So that team I have down at number 30 right now. And really, they'd be number 32 if not for Myles Garrett. So at least they have one real player, impact player on defense that can change things. And that's the only thing that Tennessee really has. They have L'Jarius Sneed, who had a really tough year last year. Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons is still there. He's pretty good. They picked up some other players on defense, but I don't know what Cam Ward is going to do behind that offensive line that's been really bad for a couple of years. With Calvin Ridley as your number one receiver, Lockett's hurt. He's been hurt the last couple of years, so now he's your big free agent acquisition. I'm not a Tennessee person. I think this team's going to have a rough season, especially with the new coaching staff. The second-year coaching staff. I wasn't a fan last year of what I saw from Callahan, so I don't have a lot of confidence in this team, unless Cam Ward's really good, but I don't see it right away.
Me neither. I do like the additions they made in the offensive line. They got Dan Moore from Pittsburgh. He's solid, and then Kevin Zeitler is older, but he had a good year for Detroit last year. So the offensive line shouldn't be that bad. So that could give Cam Ward a shot.
Right.
What's that?
Going back to my number one word on offensive lines is continuity. So they're putting good pieces together, but can they come together as an offensive line with a rookie signal caller? So you've always seen in the past guys like Peyton Manning, Brady. They're able to kind of, point out coverages, point out blitz packages, point out where the line needs to shift. And I think that's really important. And you have a veteran quarterback that can understand that. It can help a line come together. You have a rookie quarterback that's not going to know what he's looking at on the other side. He's not going to be able to help his offensive line. I think he might be a guy like Caleb Williams last year that held the ball too much. If you watched him in college, he tried to make a lot of plays, and he's not the fastest guy. So he's moving around in the pocket against college-level ACC teams that weren't very good. He's going to come to the NFL. If he holds the ball and tries to make those types of ad-lib plays, he's going to find himself looking a lot like Caleb Williams. He's going to find himself being sacked. He might be your league leader and leading quarterback in sacks taken. He's going to get killed behind that offensive line if they don't come together real quick. So I worry that he's going to be the guy that holds the ball too much, that he's going to try to make plays and not be ready for the speed that the NFL brings. Yeah,
that's definitely fair. All right, so I feel like we can just dive into, we put this together and dive into the week 1 spreads. So, I mean, obviously we're not going to have a strong take on every game, but I'm curious to hear what lines you think are way off. I do think that there's some are way off as well. So we begin Thursday night, September 4th, Cowboys and Eagles. I made this line, I believe it. I guessed this line to be Eagles -7.5 or -8. Can't remember which one, but I had this over 7. Now it's 6.5 here with the -120 vig. I would take the Eagles here. I don't have any faith in Schottenheimer. It's not like a huge advantage. I don't love this game, but I think like maybe 2 or 3 unit bet on the Eagles is kind of worth it. What do you think about this game?
I'm in the same boat. Again, when we go through this, I don't think we should talk matchups. I think it's matchup. But the number I wrote down, my power rating is an 8. I made the line 7.5. I see a line of 7, so that would put me on the Eagles. I don't think I'd be laying -7, although I would think that the Eagles come out. They obviously don't like Dallas. And I think 7's probably a little short. Wouldn't be surprised if this line moved up, being a home opener for a Super Bowl winning team. That stadium would be going crazy. And I would think the Eagles, again, 7.5 is probably the right number.
Okay. We have the Brazil game Friday night, Kansas City Chiefs versus Chargers, not at Chargers, even though that's what it says here. The Chiefs are -2.5, -115. I personally think this line's too low. This is not at Chargers. This is a neutral site. So Chiefs only 2.5 points better than the Chargers doesn't seem correct to me. The Chargers last year, they beat up on all the bad teams. But when they went up against those elite teams, they had issues. And you have Andy Reid with like 5 months to prepare. That seems great to me. I would have made this line Chiefs minus like 4, 3.5 or 4. So I think we get good value here crossing the key number of 3. What do you think?
Yeah, I made the line 2.5, and that's because the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they're going to win this game by exactly a field goal. We both know it going in. So, yeah, maybe they'll be favored by 3.5, 4, but I think the Chargers keep the game close. I think this game is a close game throughout. I think the Chiefs, if they're up by 3, they'll run the clock out. If they're tied, they'll kick a field goal to win it. If they're down by 4, they'll score a touchdown to win it. So your prototypical Chiefs opener, they'll win by exactly the bare minimum that they have to win by. So I think the line is fair at 2.5. That's exactly what I made the line. That's what my power ratings make the line. Like I said, I have the Chiefs as my number 5 team. I have them +5. I have the Chargers at number 11, but +2.5. So I'm smack at 2.5. No adjustments made. But I did highlight the Chiefs if we're talking, week 1 picks. And obviously, I don't necessarily like to take Thursday night, but I would take Friday night games because generally I'm making my picks on Friday afternoon for contest purposes. That's definitely at 2.5 or less. I would definitely consider the Chiefs as a potential pick at 2.5, even though I think the spread is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we would disagree. I think the Chiefs should be favored by more. Again, like the Chargers really just not living up to like their expectations when they go against better teams. And I did my season preview for them already. I haven't posted it on the site yet. I like to get through every team before I post anything. The Chargers defense looks so bad to me. They look terrible. I love the offense, love the coaching staff, but the defense looks terrible. All right, so our next game is Giants at the Redskins. Redskins are -6.5. I feel like everyone's going to put this in their survivor pool, and I just urge you guys out there to be careful because first of all, this is the divisional game, and second, the Redskins have the Packers on Thursday night after this, so this could be a Cincinnati type situation where they're kind of looking ahead against the Chiefs last year when they played the Patriots week 1. So I'd worry about that. But in a vacuum, I think the spread's too low. I think the Redskins are a lot better than the Giants, but this is a bad situational spot for them. Although I don't know if I could bring myself to bet the Giants either. So what do you think about this game?
You skipped a couple of games. I like to go in order of the Vegas cards. So let's see.
I'm just going by FanDuel. I'm just going by FanDuel here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my line in this game was 6. So my power rating makes it 6.5. My mental adjustment makes it 6. And I see the line. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. Redskins, Giants. I made the line 7 across the board. So look at it was 7 and actually got bet down to 6.5. I think 6.5 is a little short. I agree with you. Be careful with these divisional games. The Giants' defense is really good, or could be really good. That front 7 could be really, really solid. Obviously, their quarterback situation is a mess. And going in, I think Jackson Dart has a chance when he takes over as starting quarterback later in the season to be really solid. Maybe he's more of like a year 2 guy with Russ. I'm not a Russell Wilson fan at all. He's just going to chuck the ball deep, throw the ball up for grabs to Malik Neighbors. But I like the Redskins here. I think this line should be 7 or bigger. So at 6.5, I'd agree with you on Washington. But I probably wouldn't play it as a contest pick just because I don't want to lay home big favorites. And that's one of the things I'm going to have to study as, when the NBA Finals is over, kind of studying last year's barrage of favorites. I want to see if it's more shaded towards like the top elite level teams or if it was across the board pretty much didn't matter who you are, favorites just dominated. So
yeah.
I want to see if there's any kind of discrepancy. Maybe it's just when it's against the really bad teams. Maybe it was more favored towards the really elite teams. So I'm going to study that a little bit further. But I'm generally not somebody who wants to go and say, oh, yeah, Redskins are great. I'm going to lay that -7. But at 6.5, I think it's a little light. I thought this line should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. John asking, any idea what the Super Bowl champs record ATS is in their home opener since they started it on Thursday night? They started it in 2004. Since then, the home teams to kick off the NFL season on Thursday night are 16-4 straight up, 12-7-1 against the spread. The over is 9-9-2 if you're interested in that. They have done pretty well over the years as they're Super Bowl winners. So also new ESPN FBI. I have not looked at it. I didn't even know it was out, so I haven't seen it. So I mean, you tell me, the boss, tell me what you think. I haven't seen it. All right. Like I said, we're going by FanDuel rotation here. They don't have. I hate when these sports books don't have it ordered correctly too. I don't know why they just don't do that. But anyway, the Panthers at the Jaguars. Jaguars are -2.5, -115. I would have made this Jaguars -3.5. I like them better than the Panthers, and they have a good home field advantage in September when it's hot and humid there, and they can wear their white uniforms. The Panthers can wear their color uniforms. It's gonna be pretty brutal for them. So that's a nice edge they have, and I expect that Trevor Lawrence is going to bounce back. So what do you think about this game?
This is the line I was off the most on. I told you I have the Panthers down at number 31-32 as the worst team in the league. I made this line. My power rating makes the line 5.5.
Okay.
What I do is my numbers are numbers, right? So it's 5.5, and then I look at that 5.5 and say, feels a little short. I make the line 6, and then I look and it's 3, where it's actually 2.5 in some places and 3 in others. And yeah, I like the Jaguars. If you told me the contest is tomorrow, we have to submit our picks. This is my number 1 pick on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely in my top 5. This line's definitely short, and I love the home field advantage that these Florida teams have at 1 o'clock. So
this is one of those games where this line could move 3.5, and I tell you, I don't love it anymore because I don't like laying 3.5 or more. Mm-hmm. But at 2.5, 3, no brainer. I just don't understand how this line. Vegas is basically telling you that these teams are close to equal. That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I completely agree. Would you bet this now? I know, it's pretty tough. No. Why not? Because you said it might move across there.
Well, a couple of reasons why not. First, the easiest, simplest reason is I'm not going to tie up money today on a bet that's not going to place for another 3 months.
It's pretty rough, yeah.
2.5 months. So to me, it's not really worth it. Granted, I'm not necessarily betting much once the NBA season is over. I'm not really betting baseball at all. But I'd like to save my funds, my futures funds, because I do, as I've mentioned last year, I'll walk around Vegas in August playing pretty much every single running back under for the season yard total. I like to bet win totals. And to tie up money right now in Jacksonville -2.5 or 3, it's just not worth it right now. If that line moves to 3.5, okay, so I lost that on the bet. I'm disciplined enough not to bet it. I don't need to bet it. I'd rather look for it as a contest play it as a teaser in some capacity, or wait for a live line throughout the game. If I can get one. If I don't get the bet in, I don't get the bet in. It's not a big deal. I don't have to bet every single game. I'm disciplined enough that if I'm late to the window, stay away from the window. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with not tying up money. I actually was with Andy, our proxy, in the Super Contest a few years ago, and we were looking at a bet at the Westgate, and it was like, Super Bowls that Patrick Mahomes, number of Super Bowls Patrick Mahomes will win. And it was like over 2.5, and I think he just won his first one. And I'm like, I like that over. We should bet. I'm thinking of betting that. And he's like, do you really want to tie up your money for 10 years? I'm like, that's true. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea not to do it. So
yeah, there's an opportunity cost to that, but at the end of the day, how much? The other question is, how much is one really betting on that? I mean, am I going to take out thousands of dollars now and put it on the Jacksonville in week 1? What if Lawrence gets hurt? I mean, there's just no reason for me to lay out any sort of meaningful bet today on May 29th, 30th for a game that's going to be played in September.
Yeah. I completely agree. Stu says Liam Cohen put 37 on the Redskins in game 1 last year. Now he gets the Panthers defense. Sign me up. Yeah, I like Liam Cohen. I think he's going to do well there. I usually don't like to bet new coaches week 1, but that's only when they're with new quarterbacks for that team. I think betting new coaches with veteran quarterbacks there, I think is fine. And John echoing that. But yeah, I was speaking of that situation. We have this here with the Jets, new coach, new quarterback with the Jets. It's definitely a red flag here. The Steelers are -3, especially against a Mike Tomlin defense. I know the thing is to not bet the Steelers as road favorites, but I think that's more when they're favored by more than 3. As long as they're 3 or less, I think they do fine. If you look back record-wise, they're okay. And I just think that, like, on one hand, you have new coach, new quarterback. On the other hand, you have a really good coach, I think, who has a lot of time to prepare. We saw this last year. New coach, new quarterback for Atlanta. Tomlin came into Atlanta and just destroyed them. I think this is going to be the same sort of situation. And, he saw Justin Fields in practice every single day last year. I think he might know a thing or two about him. So I like the Steelers here, even at -3. If it's -3.5, I'm not going to take it, but -3 I think is fine. What do you think?
I'm on the other side, and I asked you
Really?
this question. So Vegas has an inclination that Rodgers might be the quarterback, right?
Right.
So if they think that Rodgers might be the quarterback, they're making this line. They're kind of hedging their bet. They're saying, okay, if Rodgers is the quarterback, this line is 3.5 or bigger. Let's just use 3.5 because that's an easy way. You're crossing the key number. If Rodgers is the quarterback, this line is 3.5 plus. If Rodgers is not the quarterback, this line is 2.5 or less. So they're hedging it right now by saying this is 3. I don't think Rodgers is going to be the quarterback, and if he is, I don't think he's ready to play. So if that's the case, I mean, again, Aaron Glenn, defensive coach, Jets have nice pieces. I'm not a huge Fields guy, but he can definitely move around, maybe make some plays. The Jets are at home getting +3 against Mason Rudolph. Give me +3 all day in the week. To me, this line is 1. Steelers favored. Yes, Steelers are the better team because their defense is elite. But even with that elite defense, if Mason Rudolph is the quarterback, they're not favored by 3 points on the road against anybody, unless they're playing the Saints or Browns or Carolina, maybe. Outside of those 3 teams, how are they favored by 3 or more points? So I think this is Vegas telling you, hey, we're not sure who the quarterback's going to be, so we're going to hang a 3 now, let you bet it if you like. Circa still has a 2.5 out there. What does FanDuel have? FanDuel has a 3 flat. Mm-hmm. So I just think this is one of those things where if Rodgers is not the quarterback, this line's not going to be 3. So if you're laying 3 now and Rodgers is not the quarterback, you're taking a bad number. Now, if Rodgers is the quarterback and you're betting that he's going to be the quarterback and you like -3 because you know this is going up, good for you. But this is straight who's going to be the quarterback. And if it's Mason Rudolph, give me the Jets +3. If it's not Mason Rudolph, well, if it's 3.5, honestly, I still like the Jets 3.5 or 4 if it's Rodgers. Because they don't have to win the game. They just have to, keep it close. So
why don't you think Rodgers is going to be the quarterback there?
I don't know. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback. Rodgers is a weird guy. I just don't know what to expect from him right now. So maybe it's going to be Cousins, like you said before. Could be Kirk Cousins as the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Either one who comes into a new situation after a training camp, after OTAs, somebody coming in late, basically coming off the couch. Is Rodgers in good shape right now? Is Cousins in good shape right now? Neither of them could move last year. Yeah. So if you can get a rush on these guys, they're both throwing the ball into the ground. Kirk Cousins was throwing ducks. There was conversation about what's with his arm? What's with his elbow? He's lost his fastball. He's throwing 70-mile-an-hour changeups. The guy can't throw. He's got no zip. Rodgers has zip, but the ball's going into the ground. So I'm not laying points on the road with those 2 guys with a new team, with coming into a new situation. And just not for me. And I don't like Tomlin in week 1 in general because I like Tomlin better when he's coming off of a loss, not when he's expected to win. So I'm not surprised that they're favored. I am surprised to see 3, and I'm confident that's because they don't think Mason Rudolph is starting quarterback. So wouldn't bet that line now anyway, but let me know who the quarterback is, and then I'll tell you where that line should be. And I really like the Jets getting more than 3 points. If the line is under 3, I have no interest in the game.
Okay. I mean, we'll definitely disagree on this one. I like the Steelers quite a bit. But they're still the Jets, though, correct? It's
still the Jets, yeah.
Right. Okay. Next game, we have Raiders at the Patriots. Patriots are -2.5, -122. Why not just make it -3 at this point? This is another new coach, new quarterback. Raiders. They're in that situation. I like Mike Vrabel. Now, the danger here, if you take them, is Vrabel loves these weird scores. I call him a history buff because he makes every score is a war, 18-12 or 17-16 or 18-17. It's always a war score. And so if you take Patriots -2.5, you run into the danger of them winning by 1 or 2. I still like them though. What do you think about this game?
I made the line 1.5. I didn't think
Yeah.
it should be a full 3. I thought these teams are relatively equal. I have the Raiders a little right ahead of the Patriots by about 0.5 point. I think in your power ratings, where did you have this? You have the Raiders 21 and the Pats at 28. So I'm surprised that you like the Patriots in this situation, given especially at 3. FanDuel is at 2.5. Vegas right now has the line 3 across the board. I thought this line was a little high at 3. If we're sitting here talking about a contest and getting +3 on the Raiders, I'd probably say, yeah, there's some value there. Obviously, we're not playing for pushes, but I like what Vrabel's going to bring to the table. I'm not ready to lay 3 points with him.
Yeah, for me, it's the new coach, new quarterback thing. I think it's really strong to go against. These teams just don't do well week 1 for the most part, unless like they're playing a team that's just completely.
But both teams have new coach, new quarterback.
Patriots
well,
don't
not
have
really. The Raiders don't. The Raiders are pairing Carroll and Gino.
Yeah. The Patriots have May coming back at least. It's a new coach, but still, I do like them here. I think I could be lower on the Patriots. Their win total, like I said, is 8.5. Which
and you have them at number 28 in your power rankings.
Yeah, I think I should move them up a little bit.
I don't think your your computer model will not make this line 3. Because I think you probably have the Raiders. You have the Raiders ahead, and I know you're not giving 3 points for home field advantage.
No, I think once you get to week 3, week 4, and like the Raiders are in a rhythm there, that I think that's totally different. I just think that like week 1, I think they're a good fade. I just don't think they'll be quite clicking yet.
Which team? You don't think the Patriots will be clicking or the Raiders?
I don't think the Raiders will be clicking week 1.
Okay.
Now, if this game were week 4, I think I'd think differently about it. But anyway, not like super high on either side. Cardinals at Saints. Cardinals are -4.5. My initial take was that Saints plus 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah,
I have 6. I wrote 6.
Oh, interesting.
Arizona right now in Vegas is -6.
That's weird. It's good value, -4.5 then. My initial take was Saints, the right side. This number's too high. And then I thought about it. And first of all, this is, again, this new coach, new quarterback, as long as Shuck is the quarterback. If it's Rattler, obviously he's returning. Spencer Rattler's not like a real quarterback anyway. And Arizona, when I did my season previews, and I did that after this line came out, I looked at Arizona. I was like, you know what? I think they're better than I thought they were. So I might move them up a little bit in my power rankings. Not a lot, but just a little bit. I just think that Arizona is much better than the Saints, who, when they're bad, they're not going to have a home field advantage. So I'm inclined to take Arizona here, especially if it's 6 in Vegas. I get 4.5. That's not a bad deal. What do you think about this one?
So I have these teams 5.5 points apart on a neutral field.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said before, I think I probably could maybe flip-flop Dallas and Arizona and make Arizona my 0 instead of Dallas my 0. And I might be a little, I don't want to say too high because I have them at -6. And, I think we've seen in years past, there's always a couple of teams at the bottom. And it's just hard for me to go really lower than like a 6 or a 7 to start the season. But there are teams that usually fall into that category of really horrible, whether it's a horrible defense or an offense that doesn't work, and they become like a -7 or -8 or even a -9 relative to an average team. And if that's the case, then this line is short. But I made the line 3.5 because I have them 5.5 points apart on a neutral, and I give the Saints still 2 points for home field. First week of the season, there's still going to be some excitement there. New Orleans is a good crowd. I don't think that crowd is a dead crowd really until the end of the year, and I don't even know if New Orleans ever is really a dead crowd. So you got the dome. I don't like Shuck, but maybe he's a gamer. Maybe he fights back. I don't think there's a lot of value laying 4.5. Certainly at 6. I like New Orleans. 4.5. Does that mean I'm going to now go and be on the Cardinals side? I don't know. I probably lay off the game because I wouldn't want to touch the Saints with any bets early on until I really saw how Shuck plays. But I'm not laying 6, really 4.5 to 6 on the road with the Cardinals either. So no real opinion there. I think the line is correct at 6. At 4.5, I think it's more correct. 6 probably a little high.
Okay. Well, this game I love. And we'll disagree on the spread, I'm sure, because you have the Bengals much higher than I do. I have them number 18. You have them, what, 9 or 8? I forget where you have them, but you have them in the top 10.
Number 7.
Oh, number
And
7.
again, Hendrickson. Hendrickson's not there. They're going to drop by like 5 spots.
I don't even like them with Hendrickson, and if he's out, then yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put him lower than 18 even. So
what did you make the line in this game?
2.5 or 3, I think.
Wow.
This well, first of all, Joe Burrow never does well in Cleveland. We know that. Second, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. What'd you say?
They never win week 1.
Never win week 1 or week 2. They're always terrible to start the year. And the Browns, as long as Flacco or maybe Shore Sanders, so we'll see how he does in practice and training camp. If it's one of those 2 quarterbacks starting this game, I like the Browns a lot. They have the better defense, much better defense. They have the better offensive line. And obviously the Bengals have Burrow and the flashy receivers, but that's it. There's no substance to this team. It's just like flashy fantasy players, and that's it. Browns, as lowly as we rank them, I think that they have more substance. Like their defense is much better, offensive line much better. The receivers aren't that bad. Jerry Jeudy had a great second half last year. Cedric Tillman played really well. David Njoku's back. They have some good pieces, and I think these teams are very close. So I love the plus 5.5. I would love to get 6. I hope it gets to 6 at some point, but this is definitely going to be on my card. I hope you agree, despite you having Bengals much higher.
So I made the line 6, so I'm not far off. Obviously 5.5, and FanDuel has a minus 15. I don't see how this line could be 2.5. I think that's really giving way too much disrespect to Burrow. Even though you're right, they don't play well in Cleveland, and they don't play well week 1 or beginning of the season. So you're not going to find me picking Cincinnati. You're not going to find me with a survivor play on Cincinnati. I've learned my lesson multiple times in Cincinnati in week 1.
Yep.
There's no chance I'm taking Cincinnati to my survivors, and I'm obviously not laying 6 or 5.5 points on the road in a divisional game. Not going to happen. But I don't love the Browns by any stretch. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. If it's going to be Shador, I'm not a huge fan of Shador. I know he played well coming back in a bunch of college games against mediocre teams. I understand that he played behind no offensive line, so I can't really fault him that much. But I'm not a Shador fan. I don't know really what I think. I'm not surprised that he fell out of the first round. I've heard a lot of things about that. I don't expect him to be a good quarterback early on in his career. I think he's got a lot of learning to do. Flacco was great 2 years ago. Last year he was garbage. I have no idea what Flacco's going to be now, being another year older. I don't really know what other. I just don't want to back a team that doesn't seem to have an organizational plan. And the Browns, to me, right now, seem like a team that's got no plan, that's got no direction, and is not a team that I would want to back at all. So that would be a game that I absolutely stay away from with everything: teasers, money lines, survivors, and of course spreads as well. So yeah, if I'm in a contest and I'm picking every single game, I'm probably just going to pick the dog because I generally lean towards dogs and not going to lay with Cincinnati. But I don't think the line should be 2.5. If the line were 2.5, I'd probably take Cincinnati. But assuming Hendrickson plays, I would pick the Browns. But I don't like the game.
I will be betting the money line. I think the Browns will win this game.
Okay.
Right now they definitely be in my card. Next game, Dolphins at Colts. I think this line's it's kind of off. I have the Colts at minus 3. So a little bit of value there. I think this Miami team sucks. They have so many areas of this team. It's just horrible. Like offensive line looks awful, especially tackle, because they lost Terran Armstead. Defensive line looks abysmal as well. Their starting cornerbacks are going to be Storm Duck and Cam Smith. One of their starting safeties is Ashton Davis. He's an abysmal player. And then you never know, like Tua could just be knocked out. Obviously, the line would rise if that were to happen. But I think this is if you like the Colts, I think this is the one game you bet right now if you want to, if you like him enough, because Tua could easily get knocked out before this game. Like he's so injury prone.
In preseason, he's not going to play.
He could fall down the stairs and just get a concussion. He could be watching TV and fall off his couch and get a concussion. This guy can't stay healthy at all. So I like the Colts here minus 1.5. I think they're a little underrated. People seem to think they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. I don't think that's the case. I think they're a little bit below average, but they're certainly not awful. So who do you like here?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think the Colts are the better team. I thought the Colts were at home. By the way, the Colts are +1 in Vegas right now at multiple shops. Surprised to see FanDuel has -1.5 when at the Circa and Westgate you can take +1 or take plus money on a money line. So that's definitely your better way to go than laying -1.5. I thought my power ratings has them favored by more than a field goal. When I looked at -3.5, I said, it feels like a little high. So I made it -2.5. And when I write down my teams, I put them into the favorite column and was surprised that they were underdogs, at least from a Vegas perspective. So I agree with you 100%. If this were a contest week, that would definitely be one of the top picks, given that they're home. And I think Richardson's going to have a bounce back year. I'm high on Richardson. I think there's potential there. I know he doesn't have very good accuracy. Neither did Josh Allen in his first year or two in the league. So maybe somebody can work with Richardson and kind of turn him around, because he's had some throws that were fantastic in the last couple of seasons when he's played. He hasn't played a lot. So he brings another element to the table with his running ability, especially near the goal line, picking up short yardage situations. He could throw the deep ball. He did have a lot of receivers drop passes last year, and then there were a whole bunch of games, probably more than 50% of his throws that are just uncatchable. So if he cuts that down, and I think they're a better team. I don't think they're an above average team, but I think they're better than Miami, and I'm surprised they're not favored here. So I'm with you on the Colts.
Yeah, I actually think that Daniel Jones might do well this year. Like, I think like what you said about Richardson, I think could apply to Jones, because he was with a dysfunctional team for so long. The team did not give him an offensive line. They didn't give him a receiver until they got Neighbors. Barkley was in and out of the lineup. He only had like one fully healthy year with Barkley. And so Jones is going to be with a much better situation this year. So I could see him just making a nice step forward. They're going to have an open quarterback competition, so we'll see what happens. John saying Myles Garrett got his wish of playing with a true contender. Good for him. Yeah, really, really happy for him, because he wanted to play with the winner for so long, and then he definitely got his wish. John says John Jones at least put up one decent season. That was in 2022. Richardson checked himself out of a drive because he was tired. Yeah, that was very embarrassing.
He just should have said that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. The guys didn't like that. Now, I mean, if Daniel Jones comes in for Richardson, I don't know. It's probably a little bit of a downgrade. I do like Richardson's mobility that he brings to the table. Mm-hmm. He's just inaccurate. So we'll see if that improves. Listen, he's a young guy. There's time for him to improve. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but they're a better team than the Dolphins.
Yeah, agreed. Next game is this is the last of the 1 o'clock games. Tampa at Atlanta. Tampa's favored by -1.5. I think we're going to differ here, because you had Tampa well ahead of Atlanta. I had them right next to each other, so I give Atlanta -1.5. Now -1.5 compared to +1.5 is not like a huge difference, so don't really see like a great betting opportunity here. But I would take Atlanta if I had to. What do you think here?
Well, originally when I saw the line as Atlanta as a dog, I immediately highlighted Atlanta, and then when I made the spreads, I made Tampa -2.5. So I think the line's correct, but immediately when I'm thinking about this game, it's like, okay, divisional game, give me the home team laying 1.5, 2 points. It's going to be your typical Atlanta-Tampa game. It's going to be one of those back and forths. It's going to be 24-23. Someone's going to win by 1 or 2. So therefore, give me the dog in the game. But I don't like the game. I mean, I don't think there's any real value to the line right now. 2.5 feels maybe it's like a point high, just because they play those 1 to 2 point games often. So they've played some shootouts. Remember last year, that was the game Kirk Cousins actually threw for 500 yards in the game. Was that one of his crazy games that he had? Was that against Tampa? I think it was.
It was a Thursday night game.
Thursday night game. So a lot of weird things happened in some of those divisional games. Again, at first look, I was surprised that the home team wasn't the favorite, because I think they're very comparable. But in hindsight, now that I look at the real numbers, I made the line 2.5. So to me, there's no value.
Yeah, I think if I had to do anything here, it would be teasing up Atlanta from +1.5 to 7.5. We just have to find another leg for it, and I think there's some other ones that we'll discuss. 4 o'clock games.
Interesting, because FanDuel has it 1.5, and Vegas has it 2.5. So
okay, interesting. Yeah,
I think that line will drop closer to 1.5, at least between now and a couple of months.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, Tennessee at Denver. Denver's -7, -115 here. I made this line 7, so nothing here. I don't really find this game interesting from a betting angle. Denver did take care of bad competition last year, so that could be the case. But I just don't know what we're going to get out of Cam Ward. It's kind of a big question mark for me. So it's kind of like a wait and see sort of deal. I think if I had to take a survivor pick right now, it would be Denver. But what do you think?
I would take Denver as a survivor pick. My power rating makes the line 7. I made it 6.5, just because I thought there was a lot of points to give Denver. But again, now you're playing early in the season in altitude. Mm-hmm. That's a tough spot for Cam Ward to be in. So my 6.5 is probably a little light. I'm going to change that back to 7 because my power rating makes it 7. I see FanDuel has 7. Vegas has 7.5. So I wouldn't be laying 7.5 in this game, but I wouldn't want to be on Tennessee either.
One thing that scares me about this, if you want to bet Denver, is that Sean Payton has a horrible track record weeks 1 and 2 as well. So I don't know, but it's a rookie quarterback and a bad coaching staff. So maybe they'll get the win there. Yeah, it's super funny. Sean Payton not so great with game 1, games 1 and 2. He's awful. I don't know why, but this could be a way for him to bounce back because it's just bad competition. Next game is 49ers.
What did they do last year in week 1? Denver last year, week 1, lost 26-20 at Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, at Seattle, yeah. Seattle had a big lead in that game. Denver kind of came back in garbage time. All right, so San Francisco at Seattle. San Francisco -1.5. I made this 3. So nice little value on the Niners. I kind of like them here. We'll see what happens with McCaffrey. That's obviously a big question mark right now. But what do you think about this game?
I made the line 3.5. I'm not a Seattle person. I don't think Seattle's going to be any good this year. I think the Niners, so we talked about before, Vic Fangio. Now, the Niners lost a lot of players on defense, but one thing they did not lose is they gained Robert Saleh, who, when he was with the Jets defense was very, very, very good. When he left the Jets, the Jets defense was not very good. Now, maybe that was an Ulbrich situation who was moving from kind of DC role to head coach role, but maybe there's some correlation. The Niners lost Saleh a couple of years ago, and their defense kind of fell off the cliff. They were an elite defense with Saleh, and then he left, and they were not an elite defense. Now, you can chalk that up to a lot of different factors, but Warner hurt his ankle early in the season last year. He was playing like 10 weeks or 12 weeks with a broken ankle or a broken bone in his ankle, something that was not 100%. He's 100% coming back. They had a bunch of rookies last year that were good. They were decent. I think they'll be better. Now, obviously, they picked up Michael Williams, who, maybe he's a better player, but I just think that Saleh is going to be the difference maker. Maybe not quite as much as Vic Fangio was last year for Philly, but I think he's definitely going to get that defense back on track. I worry about the Niner offensive line. Obviously, Trent Williams, another year older. I worry about some of the weapons. Ayuk was hurt coming back. They don't really have a lot of weapons. They just overpaid Purdy by a wide margin. But Purdy's a competent quarterback. I told you this a couple weeks ago when that signing happened that it's a disaster. It's a disaster long term. It's not a disaster year 1. So the cap hit's not crazy. But the Niners are a better team than Seattle. They're a significantly better team than Seattle. To me, this line should be at least a field goal. At 1.5, I'm on the Niners. Okay.
Yeah, I am as well. So glad that we have that agreement here. Our next game is Lions at the Packers. This line is Packers -1.5. Kind of weird to see Detroit being an underdog here, and I think that kind of maybe speaks to the new coordinators with this first game. I like the Packers' double revenge here from last year. I made this line. I think you're going to be different here because you have the lines higher. I have these teams in the same group, so I'm going to have like Packers -2 or so. But that's kind of what the line is here. So not great value. But I think that this is kind of, I don't know. It feels like they're just begging for Detroit money here. I don't know. I don't know how much that means, but I if I had to bet this game, I would bet Green Bay, but I'm not crazy about it. What do you think?
I made Detroit favored. Detroit's the better team to me. Detroit's won 6 or 7 of the last 8 games in this matchup. And I'm not ready to say, they lost their coordinators and therefore they're going to fall off the cliff. I've been saying for a long time that Green Bay's overrated. Jordan Love's overrated. I pointed this out in the playoff game last year. The guy is towards the bottom of the league in his yards per attempt, yards per game. he's an overrated quarterback. He's erratic when the game's on the line. And outside of that game, when they beat Detroit on the road on Thanksgiving, Detroit's owned them for the last couple of years. So to me, Detroit had a really, really tough end to the season, got blown out at home by Washington. I think there's a sore taste in their mouth. I think they come out week one hot. And I thought Detroit should have been favored in the game. So is there value when the line is 1? I think Detroit should be favored by 1 instead of underdogs by 1. Big deal. Right. There's no real value getting points, getting 3, 4, 7 points. But I would have made Detroit a favorite in the game. So I'm not quite sure why people are so high on Green Bay again, but I'm not. I have Green Bay again as an under team. I have Green Bay number 13. I know a lot of people have them in the top 10 or even higher, closer to the top 5. I just don't see it.
Yeah, we're pretty similar in Green Bay. I just have Detroit a lot lower, so that kind of makes sense that we'd have the disagreement. Last 4:00 game, Texans at Rams. I made this line Rams -3. So slight value here, but not anything crazy as far as the line is concerned. What I really like, though, is Sean McVay in week 1. McVay's one of the better coaches in the NFL when it comes to preparation. I do like DeMeco Ryans, but McVay's in a different stratosphere as far as that is concerned. So I would take the Rams -2.5, just based on that. But there are other matchups and such. But so what do you think about this game?
I made the line 3, and it really depends on where you are. Because at 2.5, I'd probably lean Rams. Don't like it. But at 3, I like the Texans because I think this is a field goal game. I think it's a good game. I agree with you about McVay as far as preparation in week 1. But again, the Texans had a tough finish to the season. And I just think this is a game that's kind of like a toss-up game. So to me, they're a live dog. I'll take the 3 points. If it's 2.5, wouldn't bet the game.
Okay. All right, Sunday night game, a rematch from the AFC divisional round game, except this one's in Buffalo, not Baltimore. The Ravens at the Bills. It wasn't Buffalo. It wasn't Buffalo. Yeah, it wasn't Buffalo. Yeah, it wasn't Buffalo. Where he got tripped up was the Ravens were favored instead of the Bills. Mm-hmm. That's what's different here. The Bills are -1.5, whereas last year the Ravens were -1.5. So I was talking about teaser legs. I think this is definitely one where you can take Ravens up to 7.5. This is a coin flip for me. I think the spread's correct. I don't really see an edge here. John Harbaugh week 1, he's usually spectacular, but that's kind of nullified by a competition that's elite. So not really an edge there. It's usually like when John Harbaugh has like the Jets week 1 or something, like he'll destroy them. But here with the Bills, he doesn't have that edge. I think just because of revenge, I think I might take Baltimore, but I don't know. I don't know what to do with this game. Do you? What do you make?
No, this line is correct. The line should be 1.5. I'd be on the Bills just because they're the home team at night. I think that's an advantage for them playing at night. The Bills are also loose in the regular season, so this is a team that I worry a little bit more about when it comes playoff time. We said this last year. It depends if their foot's on the gas. They kind of proved throughout the regular season they were keeping their foot on the gas. That they did against the Chiefs. They did against the Ravens in the playoffs. So I would lean towards Buffalo just being the home team at night. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. It'll probably come down and be a similar finish to last year's Ravens-Chiefs on opening night where Ravens could be down and there's a toe that lands out of bounds or a drop that on a 2-point conversion. But if you're telling me I can get the Bills at home at night in a home opener just where they have to win, I would definitely be on that side. But I agree with the Ravens as a teaser play being the better bet. I don't see the Ravens getting blown out in any game really ever. So I think that's probably a better bet if you're betting the game. If you're picking the game, I'd lean towards the Bills. Is it a contest pick? Probably not. But I do lean towards the Bills. I love the Bills at home. I think this is a fun team. I was rooting for them last year. And I picked them in that playoff game simply because kind of the script, the Ravens just in the playoffs just don't match. But I like the Bills week 1. I think the Bills are a great team. These are my number 2 and 3 teams. We talked about that before. And as you get down towards the end of the season, these are the games that really matter. It's unfortunate that it happens right away in week 1, but this could be your tiebreaker scenario of who's playing who's the 2 seed and who's the 3 seed in the playoffs. So, or who's the ones who's getting the bye in the playoffs. I mean, this game could really decide right early on, like which team has in the driver's seat for that bye early for the playoffs. So, fun for us that we get it to be in week 1. It sucks for the fans of these teams that one of them is, right off the bat going to take a back seat. So I'm excited for the game. Probably wouldn't put it into a contest because you don't have to. But you're right. The Ravens on a teaser side. That's the way to go.
Yeah, whoever starts 0-1 might be a good bet for week 2. Well, I mean, obviously it depends what the matchup is, but that's something to look for as well. But yeah,
you're right, because if Baltimore loses week 1, I mean, they play Cleveland at home in week 2, and Buffalo will go to the Jets, and both of those games would be blowouts.
They're gonna be massacres. Yeah,
that's your survivor pick for week 2.
Yes. Whoever loses this game, yeah, I agree. And but by the way, how the turntables have turned. I think last year, I don't think I ever had the Ravens when you didn't. We either agreed on them in a game, or like if you had the Ravens, I was on the other side. I think. I don't know if that's accurate, but it sounds like it could be true. And now I am on the Ravens. You're on the Bills. Yeah. Someone have to go back. I'm not going to go back. Someone has to go back. Anyway, it's funny. I'm on the Ravens. You're not, but this is not a confident pick or anything. So
I wouldn't sit here and tell you we're discussing week 1 contest. Like this is not a game that you got to play this game. This is a sit back and relax and enjoy game. Not a
100%. Yeah. A game I like a lot. Andy likes this game too. Vikings at the Bears. Bears are -1.5. We're gonna have a disagreement here as well because I'm radically higher on the Vikings than you are. I made this line Vikings -3. And in fact, our resident Viking fan Matthiasen said this line should be 4.5 Vikings, and I think that's closer to what it should be than this one. I think Minnesota is a far better team. I think they have a much better coaching staff that's proven, at least. I think Ben Johnson could be really good. We don't know. This is a new coach and not a new quarterback, but a dumb quarterback who kind of like has a brain freeze in close games at the end. Maybe Ben Johnson will fix that, but maybe not right away. I think Minnesota is a far better team. I love them here +1.5. Getting points, like I thought they would be -2 or -1.5. I was shocked to see them being underdogs. I think this line should be -3. I know you're going to disagree because our
I made the line 1. My power rating make the line 0.5, so I have them.
One which way?
I have the Bears in my power ratings. I have the Bears as a 1, and the Vikings at a +2. So neutral field, I have Vikings as a favorite. I get 1.5 for the Bears home field, which takes them to 0.5, and 0.5 to me becomes 1. So I made the. If you say, "Hey, Evan, make a line for the game," I say Bears -1. So I'm in line with the market right now. I definitely don't think the Vikings should be favored on the road. I think Caleb Williams is going to be much, much better this year. With a competent OC, I think that's going to make a huge, huge difference in his game. I like the weapons that they have. I love the offseason that they had. Their offensive line right now, I mean, they really, really revamped that offensive line. They have solid play at both sides of the tackles, right? Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones are competent tackles. They picked up Joe Thuney, which I think is huge. That's a veteran presence. Now, I talked about continuity before, so obviously there's no continuity with these guys. Yeah. But Thuney to me is really a difference maker. He's like that veteran. He's like a point guard in an NBA game that can kind of like control players, right? He's a coach on the field. I think he brings that level of competency. I think at center they signed Drew Dolman, which is a huge pickup. So their offensive line has above average players at pretty much every single position. But Dunze is in year 2. Obviously DJ Moore. So they have really solid weapons. They drafted the tight end Loveland out of Michigan. So I think that's a big pickup. That's somebody that Ben Johnson's going to enjoy working with. Even though I thought the other tight end out of Penn State was probably a little better, but they selected Loveland. I'll trust that Ben Johnson knows what he's doing. I think their offense is going to be much, much better this year than it was last year. And obviously last year wasn't very good at all. I think throughout the season, they were actually the worst offense in the league. They were at 4.5. I'm a big yards per play person. They're down at number 32, worse than Cleveland, believe it or not, for a season at yards per play. But I think they fell off a cliff after that Hail Mary game. Once that Hail Mary happened, and then they screwed up the Thanksgiving game somehow. So they just kind of fell apart. I think they're a really, really much improved team. Defensively, they're okay. Nothing special defensively. And Minnesota, to me, their defense is elite, but I'm not ready to put J.J. McCarthy in the above average bucket. I think this game is going to be a great game. I don't really have a pick one way or another. I think the line is what it should be. The Bears should be favored by under a field goal. It wouldn't surprise me if you told me the Vikings closed as a 1-point favorite. if either team would get to 3, I'd take the dog at +3. That's the only value to me in this game would be somebody at +3. Or if you're playing your teasers, you're playing the Ravens and the Vikings getting 7.5, 7 points. That's probably a good bet. So that's probably a winning bet because I don't see the Bears blowing anybody out off the bat, and I don't think they're going to put up enough points to blow anybody out yet. But we'll see. I think Ben Johnson makes a huge difference for that offense, and the offensive line that they just put together is going to really, really help. So I think the Bears are rightfully favored, but to me, there's no value.
I misled you a little bit. And said Andy loves this game. He loves Chicago. So we disagreed when he was on the show. Is either last week or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago actually. This was his top pick. He loved the Bears.
Top pick. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. He said one of his reasons was Ben Johnson has familiarity with the Vikings, just being the coach of the Lions for so long. So that would definitely help them.
Fair point.
But I don't know. I feel like Kevin O'Connell knows the Bears too, so I don't know. But I do. I agree with completely what you said about the Bears. Like I think they're going to be better this year. But like right away, week 1, like if this game were week 10, I think I'd be. I wouldn't be as bullish on the Vikings. But week 1, just a great coach with familiarity with his team versus a new coach with a second-year quarterback who just was awful at times last year. And you said it, like, continuity as well. Like, by week 10, the Bears' offensive line could be awesome. Week 1, they could have some miscues and stuff. Kind of like remember that Monday night game with the Rams against the Dolphins, and we were confused about how the Rams lost to the Dolphins. It was because, like, they got all their offensive linemen back, and they had no continuity. Like, they made a lot of screw-ups in the offensive line, like assignments were blown. I think there could be a couple of growing pains here in a couple of games for the Bears, and then by the time they get to like mid-October, they're going to be full gear. So I think the Vikings are getting them at a good time right now. And whatever like offensive line upgrades you say about Chicago, I think you could make the same case for Minnesota. They added 3 new interior linemen as well, and they get Darisaw back from injury. So like I like the Bears tackles, but Darisaw is so much better than those guys. So. I like Minnesota, plus better defense. Chicago, I think the one difference here, Chicago defense is not that good. Vikings defense is awesome, and they could trick Caleb Williams into some turnovers. So
you're right about that. Chicago's defense last year, I have them down at number 30 in the league. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Minnesota top 10, top 5. Yep. So I totally agree with you, and this is the best time. I think the Bears are a team on the rise. There's no question they're going to get better throughout the season. So they're a team right now I have at number 15. And I'm going to be quick to move them up. If I see that offense clicking, it's hard to predict defenses, and sometimes defenses don't even really make a difference. If your offense doesn't work, generally speaking, as I look at my power ratings, the teams with the elite offenses or the really good offenses are always the teams at the top of the league. It's rare that I see a team with a great offense that's towards the bottom of the league. And on the flip side of that, I have the Redskins. I don't think the Redskins defense is any good at all. And maybe they're going to be better than I think they are, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think their offense is going to be just fine. And Cincinnati is the same thing. But I routinely see teams with great defenses, Pittsburgh, that are towards the middle or bottom of the league. Teams that have, like the Jets last year, great defense, couldn't move the ball, couldn't score points, can't win games. So, or their offense is putting their defense in bad situations. So I don't mind so much that the Bears' defense is not that great, and obviously hard to predict where their defense, how much it can't get worse. They were number 30 last year, so how much worse can they get? But if their offense was awful last year. Caleb Williams was taking sacks right and left. He'd take like 7 to 9 sacks a game. Yeah. They couldn't move the sticks. I think there's going to be an excitement level coming out, and then there may be a little bit of an overexcitement, right? And if that offensive line doesn't mesh right away and he goes right back into throwing the ball away or holding the ball too long and making mistakes or taking sacks and turning the ball over, he can get confused. Remember what the Vikings do a lot is that kind of like that. They fake the blitz. They drop guys into coverage. They bring 5-6 guys up on the line. You don't know who's coming, who's dropping, and especially young quarterbacks get confused by that. But Andy might be right. There's familiarity between Ben Johnson and what the Vikings do, and he can counter that with some misdirection, with some counter plays, some counter running plays. The question is, can Caleb Williams do what Jared Goff did, right? Can he be an elite level quarterback, especially at home? And I think they're at home. I think there's a lot of excitement. I think they're rightfully favored in this game. If you said to me, hey, we're in a contest, we got to take the Vikings, I'm going to ask you. You're making an assumption that J.J. McCarthy is a really above average quarterback in his first game, and I just don't see that happening on the road at night. He might be week 10. We can have a conversation that J.J. McCarthy is really great, but I don't see it yet. I'm not ready to bet on. I'm certainly not going to be betting on J.J. McCarthy right now.
Yeah, I like. I think McCarthy just has to be Sam Darnold from last year. He went 14-3.
Remember, Sam Darnold was a Pro Bowl level quarterback for the most part.
Yeah, but for I mean, entering the NFL, but like.
No, you're saying what he was last year.
Oh no,
Sam Darnold was last year was an elite quarterback, other than like 4 games.
Well, yeah, but I mean that was all Kevin O'Connell. I mean, we're not going to see that from him this year, just like we didn't see that from him the year before.
Oh, of course.
And like, there's in Seattle, there's no Kevin O'Connell, there's no Justin Jefferson, there's not even T.J. Hawkinson. Like
Sam Darnold last year threw for 4,300 yards. He's one of 6 quarterbacks over 4,000 yards.
Yeah, I think McCarthy.
If you let me bet J.J. McCarthy 4,000 yards, I'm taking the under.
I think he's going to rush more. He's more of a runner, so he'll get some yardage that way, and they'll be more conservative with him because he's basically a rookie. I think with their offensive line, they're going to run the ball a lot with Aaron Jones and Jordan.
His
Mason.
over under, by the way, on FanDuel is 35.50.
I think I'd take the over there. I'm not excited about it, but
by the way, and for anybody listening on this, you should never take those overs because that guy gets a concussion. He's out for a couple of weeks. You win your bet. So if you want to make money, go take 32 quarterbacks and bet them all under. You'll probably win 65-70% on injuries alone.
Well, I like you're playing with the running backs. That seems
better.
I
do that.
You get injured more often.
Yeah, I create a bank account and just bet every running back under.
that might beat out covered calls for ROI. Yeah, we'll see. Last question here, Mr. Magic asking, give me your dark horse number 1 player at each position in redraft. So it's a fantasy question. Let's go with McCarthy, quarterback. Like I said, he's going to run the ball a lot. He's in a great offense. The offensive line is top notch. Great running support, but. With Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, those are good players, obviously great players. And then Kevin O'Connell coaching him up. Running back, I think Isaac Guerrero. I don't trust McCaffrey to stay healthy all year. Heck, he may play 6 games for all we know. If that happens, Guerrero is just going to have a monster season. A receiver, I think, let's say Roman Wilson, the Steelers receiver. Now they could sign Amari Cooper or sign Keenan Allen or something to kind of ruin this. But right now, he's their number 2 receiver. They like him a lot. And Pittsburgh has a good history of drafting good receivers on day 2. I liked Roman Wilson last year, but he got hurt. Like he didn't play. So like he's going to be healthy now. And Pickens is gone. Metcalf's going to draw a lot of attention. I think he could have a good year. And then a tight end, I would say Theo Johnson, a tight end from the Giants. I've been drafting him in like round 19, round 20 in best ball. I think he's very athletic, and I think he could have a good season. So that's my answer to that. Anything else before we head out? We're almost 2 hours here.
No, one of the things, like I said before, I really try to focus in now on coaching, and I'm not as high on looking at the draft and looking at teams. Like I know you do a really nice grades on teams, and a lot of that is based on value. Teams that may have selected better for future value in the first round versus in later rounds, but those players are not necessarily moving the needle for me on spreads for week 1 or at least in the first couple of weeks of the season. Free agency matters a little bit more, just kind of filling holes in your lineup and your roster. But for me, it's really about coaching staff. Who's changing coaches? Who's has continuity with the coaches? And like Vrabel, I think, is going to be a difference maker. Vic Fangio is going to be a difference maker. Ben Johnson's going to be a difference maker. People like that, as I study the season and I study the changes throughout, to me makes a lot more of a difference, especially handicapping teams going into a season. But you got to be open-minded. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know. We'll learn a lot weeks 2, 3. Try not to overreact early on. But there's so much we're going to learn in the first month of the season. That's just, we have no idea right now. So I try not to bias myself too much with, I love this roster or I love that roster, be open-minded about it, and really kind of just read about coaches and read about teams and read the beat reporters, read the beat writers throughout the season, throughout the off season. And Hendrickson, what's going to be with Trey Hendrickson? Who's going to be the quarterback of the Steelers? What direction are the Cleveland Browns going in? Things like that I think make sense. For me, it's really not about betting these lines now. We talked about some value. That's all well and good, but I'm sure my mind will change 10 times or more between now and we have these discussions before week 1. So I'm excited about that. It was nice to kind of look at the power ratings. It's always fun to look at my power ratings throughout the regular season. I've never done it this early. But like you said, it's never too early for some football talk. I will tell you, shifting back 30 seconds on the NBA, it's been an unbelievable NBA run for me. Unbelievable. I got kicked off FanDuel 2 weeks ago, so I had to sign up with a new FanDuel account. First, I got limited during the Super Bowl by live betting Jalen Hurts props overs and Saquon props overs, which I lost Saquon, by the way. But I got limited during the Super Bowl on FanDuel. I fought with them. They reinstated my account. I got limited. What I do is, and I told Walter about this, so what I do is I live bet player props in the fourth quarter. I don't really care about the first quarter, so I bet teams that are behind. I said that during the college season. If you're down, I bet you. And when you make a run, I bet the other side. So obviously, I got very lucky betting the Knicks early on in some of the games against Boston. I got lucky betting the Pacers in some games against Milwaukee. I got lucky betting Denver in some games. Those teams come back. I don't need you to win. I just need you to make a run, and then I can hedge the game. But where I've really made a killing is live betting player props, specifically with rebounds, starting in like late third quarter, and then 3-pointers starting early fourth quarter. And the way I do it is I basically take everybody to get a rebound or 2, because if your line is 7.5 rebounds for a game or 8.5 rebounds for a game, that means going into the fourth quarter, your line is 1.5 or 2. It has nothing to do with Josh Hart, who's an unbelievable rebounder, who's going off for 13 rebounds or 12 rebounds, or Rudy Gobert in a game who had 24 rebounds, or Jokic who has 15 or 16 rebounds. If you see these guys are playing and their usage is in the fourth quarter, and they're actively going after rebounds. Halliburton the other night had 12 rebounds. So you know he's going after boards. You know he's active. But his line is 1.5 in the fourth quarter. Sorry, Halliburton's line is 0.5 in the fourth quarter. And then the odds will get better and better and better as the fourth quarter goes on. So what I do is I'll take that player to get a rebound. And then he gets a rebound and I press it, like you're at a craps table, pressing your bet, right? Or playing blackjack and just kind of progressively increasing your hand. And you're always playing plus money. So once you hit that bet once, you're good. Threes, fourth quarter, you're getting nobody's lined at more than 0.5 unless your name is Steph Curry. Jalen Brunson's line is 0.5. Everybody is at 0.5 threes. So I could take everybody to make a 3. Boston, perfect example. Denver, great example. Teams where everybody's making a 3. Whoever makes a 3, bet it again. Press. And you're not getting even money. You're getting 2-1, 3-1, 4-1. Sometimes you can play 2 or 3 of them together in SGP. It's really been unbelievable. So you look at a team like the Thunder. Late in the game, you know what you're going to do? If the game is close, you're going to take SGA points over because his line for the game is 30. So in the fourth quarter, his line is 7.5. In the last 3-4 minutes, his line is 3.5 points. Who do you think is getting the ball and getting the shots in the last 6 minutes of the game, 5 minutes of the game? It's SGA. If they're winning, he's the guy with the ball going to the line. So you could take advantage of his point total late in the game. Rebounds, you're looking at Chet, you're looking at Hartenstein, you're looking at players like that who are Jalen Williams, if he's having a rebounding game. Just look to see the guys who are hot. Jalen Williams of the night had 4 threes. I bet him over 4.5, and I took the 6+. The 6+ was 14-1. Granted, I was only allowed to bet $50. So my $50 bet paid $700 on him making 6+ threes. He had 4 threes to start the fourth quarter. I just took him 6+. Why not? He's hot. He was 4 for 5 in the game. You know he's shooting. You know he's there. You know he's playing. You know he's going to get the attempts. So you can really, really take advantage. I've told this to you, Walt. I'm averaging about 20 to 30 player prop bets in the fourth quarter. I'm basically a computer screen. If the computer's open, I'm like a day trader. Every possession is another bet. Whoever gets a rebound, bet him again. Whoever makes a 3, bet him again. And I'm not even watching the game because I don't even care. I don't have a team in the fight. Even though I'm from New York, I was a diehard Knicks fan when I was a kid. I don't care anymore. I'm watching these games to root for my bets. I need Jalen Williams tonight. Sorry, not Jalen Brunson tonight to get another rebound. Get me over 5.5 rebounds. He didn't. That's what I was rooting for towards the end of the game. It's him, Siakam, and Cat to get another rebound. I could care less who wins or what the score is, but I'm doing 20 to 30 bets in the fourth quarter. We could sit here and talk about Bears Vikings. We're going to put a single bet on that game. I'm taking 30 times that amount in one fourth quarter of a close NBA game. And that's why 2 weeks ago, first I got limited on FanDuel by betting Jalen Brunson threes. And then I got limited again when I was betting Jokic and Jamal Murray late game points and rebounds. And then a week and a half ago, boom, I tried to put in a bet. It said max bet 0. So congratulations to me. I got kicked off FanDuel. I have to sign up for a new account now under my wife's name. Yeah, we could talk here. Football is amazing. I love football. It's my favorite sport. But you want to go make some money on the NBA Finals? Screw who's going to win. We know who's going to win. The Thunder are going to win. It's not worth betting. They're minus 500, minus 600. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But just pray the games are close. If the games are close, take every single player, 3, rebound, fourth quarter, you'll make a killing. It's great. So and you might even get banned, and that's fun too.
Just to clarify, you said rebounds at the end of the third quarter, threes to start.
Yeah, I start betting rebounds into the third quarter because I think there's a lot of value on the rebound.
So let's just say threes at the start of the fourth quarter, for example. It's like when they had the end of third quarter break, that commercial, like you start betting, like during the commercial break, you start betting guys to make threes.
Threes, first of all, I like to see who's in the game.
Right.
So I'm not betting threes at the commercial break. I want to see who's in the game.
Okay. And
then little by little, I'm going to look to see how many shots they've taken. Like Andrew Nimhard for the Pacers is like fool's gold. Like he's not even attempting threes. Like you're getting like plus 300 to start the fourth quarter on Nimhard, but he's not shooting. But Neesmith is getting shots. So let me see a game where Neesmith is, give me I want to see how many attempts you have. I don't care if you're 1 for 5. You've gotten 5 attempts. You're in the game. You're going to be shooting threes. Deuce McBride's in the game. He's going to be shooting threes. DiVincenzo from Minnesota, and obviously he's not in the games anymore. He's a guy I want to bet in the fourth quarter, and he cleaned up last night. He had a couple of threes in the early fourth quarter before he went out of the game in a blowout. DiVincenzo made a bunch of threes. So I want to see the guys who are in the game who have a bunch of attempts. Miles Turner. Give me over a half for Miles Turner, plus 290. If he's in the game, like right in that 11, 10, 9-minute range, usually that first time out, that first TV commercial in that fourth quarter, that's when I'm starting to bet pretty much every single player who's in the game to make a three, every three-point shooter to make a three. Obviously, I'm not taking Mitchell Robinson. I'm probably not taking Siakam. I'm probably not taking Mikal Bridges. But I'm taking OG. I'm taking Brunson. I'm taking Cat. I'm taking Halliburton. I'm taking Neesmith. I'm taking Miles Turner. Every single one of those guys is 2-1, 250, 300, 400. Jokic was one of my favorites because Jokic was always 0.5 plus 390. And every game I won 390 on Jokic making a three. And you don't have to do it crazy. Put $50 on it. Put $100 on it. Take it one time. If you hit it, press it. They're going to hit 2, maybe not. But you've already won your bet. That's why the rebounds are so much better. Find a guy like Josh Hart. That guy's not coming out of the game. Now, he doesn't start, so you got to wait. But when he's playing in the fourth quarter, he's playing the entire fourth quarter, unless he's got foul trouble. So he's coming into that game tonight. He had 10 rebounds. He had 6 to start the fourth quarter. I had over 7.5. I had 8, and then I had a bet with an SGP with 8+ with Brunson to get 6+, and he didn't. And I also had 10+. 10+ was plus 640. Josh Hart had 10 rebounds. Plus 640 for what? Because I know the guy goes after rebounds. Why wouldn't you bet that? So I'm getting plus 640 on Josh Hart. And people are betting Carolina plus 390 to win the division. I'll take Josh Hart plus 600 to get 4 rebounds in the fourth quarter 1,000 times over before I even think about taking Carolina for 8 months from now or a year from now. So, like I said, FanDuel is not banning me because I'm winning millions of dollars. I'm not. I'm not even winning tens of thousands of dollars. But you're going to get banned because they don't want to see people taking advantage of their faulty algorithms. And that's what these are. These are faulty algorithms because the line for Josh Hart in the fourth quarter cannot be 1.5 rebounds. The fact that he's not starting now, right? His rebound total went from like 9.5 down to 7.5. So he's playing slightly less minutes in the first quarter. It's not being affected? His minutes in the fourth quarter. His line is 1.5 rebounds in the fourth quarter. Game 6 Saturday night, the Knicks are not taking people out if they're up 30 because he was playing against the Celtics when they were up 40. And if they're down by 20 or 30 points, which they might be, he's still not coming out. Josh Hart over 1.5 rebounds to start the fourth quarter. And every time he gets a rebound, you press it. I don't care what the odds are. I don't care if it's even, if it's minus 20, whatever. Josh Hart's going to get another rebound because Josh Hart's going after offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds. He's flying in. He's diving on the floor. And that guy is a gamer. That guy's playing hard every step of the way. And that is your best bet, is Josh Hart to get over whatever his rebound total is in the fourth quarter of that game. And then you press. And you're talking whatever your unit is. You want to bet $20, $50, $100. That's your unit. Bet it. And then when he gets that rebound, bet it again. Gets another rebound, bet it again. And you're going to find like, holy shit, NBA games, fourth quarter, Knicks are down by 12. Who the hell cares? You're making more money on that fourth quarter than you're going to make in week 1 in the NFL season. I guarantee it. So the only way you're not winning is if Josh Hart fouls out or for some reason is on the bench. If he's on the bench, you're not pressing it. You're only betting it one time, and that's it. Right? You're not going in blind. He's in the game. You're betting Josh Hart. You're betting Cat. You're betting if Halliburton is going crazy and if Halliburton's got 8 rebounds, which is over his total, bet him to get another rebound. Bet him to get 10-plus rebounds because he's going for that triple-double or double-double. Right? If Halliburton's got 23 or 22 points with 6 minutes to go and the Pacers are up by 6 points, who do you think has the ball? Who's getting fouled in the end of that game? Halliburton.
Right.
He's the guy who's going to go to the rim. He's the guy who's going to go to the line. Your point total for Halliburton in the last 5 minutes is 2.5. That's a joke. Why is his line 2.5? Because his line for the game is 20, right? Or 19.5. Divided by 4 quarters. Divide 4 quarters in half or in thirds or whatever. That's his number. They get the live line does not know what Halliburton's doing in the game. They only know what his live line was, what his line was before the game, and how much time is left. That's the only thing the computer knows. You know how he's doing. You know if he's hot or cold. You know if he's playing or not playing. So you have a huge advantage and edge against that FanDuel algorithm or any other book algorithm. And that's why in Vegas, I was in Vegas for a week last week, and I asked them at the win, hey, where's your live in-game line? They're like, there's nobody here to run it. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll run it for you for a week. And they laughed. They're like, we have nobody to run it. And they're right. If there's no human being running that system, you cannot make money because there's people like me, or in Vegas, there's people like me with a heck of a lot more money that are going to kill you. They're going to destroy you. And that's why FanDuel shut me down. So I'm very proud of the fact that FanDuel kicked me out. I tweeted it to them. I went back and forth with customer service, and they wrote me a whole note that they reserve the right to take or not take anybody's bets. But I got shut down, not because I'm a good football handicapper. I got shut down because I'm taking advantage of faulty NBA live player props in the fourth quarter of close games. So that's your parting gift as we embark now on the NFL season. I look forward to coming back later this summer and arguing a little bit more when we have a little bit more information about some of these teams. But I think right now, we have a good start here with some power ratings that I'll probably change a few times. But yeah, I think we agree on most of our games. So take it for what you will, but nothing for me to bet NFL wise right now.
We definitely we had good agreements. I would love to have like a whole army of people just getting banned from FanDuel. I think that'd be amazing. But yeah, definitely.
All of a sudden, FanDuel is going to put out a statement like, "What the hell is going on? Why is everybody betting Josh Hart? Josh Hart's got 6 rebounds through 3 quarters, and like they're taking it's going to come off the board. There's going to be so many people betting over 7.5. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And I assume you got some bonus bets for signing up with a new account.
No, I didn't take advantage of anything. I'm trying to stay under the radar.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I've been killing it with those bonus bets.
I did take a 20-game parlay, same game parlay, in game 4, and I wasn't even paying attention to this, but I went 19-1, and lost Miles Turner. I had over 3.5 rebounds. Where I took the 4+ rebounds, he had 3. I was 19-1 on like a $50 bet that paid like $8,000. It's like stupid, but I'm trying to take like dumb bets to stay under the radar because look at that, a 20-game parlay. This is a great customer here.
Yeah, please bet more, bet more parlays.
Until I hit Jalen Williams plus 1,400 to hit 6 threes and Josh Hart plus 640 to get 10+ rebounds, and I was betting Cat all night with the rebounds. So it's even in bad games, you could still find ways to make money.
You know what they would like automatically like knock you as like a dumb better is if you take those pre-constructed parlays that they have, like 8,000 people bet this, and just like click it.
I've actually never once looked at them, but man, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I think like once they're like, oh man, this guy's betting our pre-constructed parlays. Like I always found that like so weird. Like 8,000 people are betting this. There's no way it's gonna win. like come on. And those parlays always look awful too. There's always like one leg that's like, oh, that's no way. I've
never even seen what they look like. Like I told you in the Super Bowl, I kind of ladder these things, right? So when I first go into these SGPs, I'll find like, okay, let me look at the rebounds. Let me look at 4+, 6+, 8+, 10+. And if you package like 5 or 6 together, you probably get like 4-1, 5-1 odds. Usually it's a pretty good bet, right? Maybe there's I mean, I'll routinely go like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6. Sometimes I'll win them. It's a couple $100. It's good fun. And like I said, it's trying to camouflage what I'm really doing by, if you throw a bunch of parlays in there, the computer model of FanDuel, it's like, oh, this is a parlay player, right?
Yeah.
Not a straight better. The straight better, They don't want straight bets. They don't want the people taking advantage of lines that are moving before they can move them. So I'll throw a bunch of those SGPs together with 4+, 6+, 8+ rebounds. And, I've won a bunch of them. So it's definitely been profitable, but it's not how to make money. You want to make money in the NBA? Live betting player props in the fourth quarter is a gold mine. You want to make money in college basketball? Live betting close games over late in the game is a gold mine. So, or live betting teams that are behind, because teams don't know how to break press, and a lot of teams don't make foul shots in college. So there's ways to take advantage without knowing much. In college basketball, I don't know much, right? I just know at the end of the game they foul for 10 minutes. For 5 minutes. They just foul, down by 13 to foul. In the NBA, there's a lot of missed shots. There's a lot of defense played in the NBA playoffs. So in the regular season, it doesn't exist. You can't do this in the regular season. In the NBA playoffs, I know Josh Hart's playing in the fourth quarter. Yeah. I'm betting over 1.5 rebounds. I mean, you can't. You want to book my action? You don't want to book that action. I'm taking Josh Hart over 1.5 rebounds in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you right now, I'm going into that fourth quarter with Josh Hart over 1.5. And he's going to get a rebound and bet it again. And if you're sitting on the other side of that table booking that action, like, shit, stop betting this. At some point, that's what happens. Like, they said, okay, enough's enough. We're not letting you bet this anymore. You're not betting Jalen Brunson over 7.5 points in the fourth quarter. That's what his line is. He goes over every single game. So, but I don't bet it to start the fourth quarter. I only bet it in the last 5 minutes if he's in the game and he's the one going to the line. Yeah. That's when I bet the points, last 4 or 5 minutes. Threes, last 10 minutes. Rebounds, last 15 to 16 minutes. And that's what I do.
Makes sense. Good advice. Yeah. I urge you guys to follow it and get everyone get banned on FanDuel, and then maybe they change their formulas and how they bet these or book these live bets. But anyway, yeah, I mean, so a lot of discussion tonight. Great episode. I always love having you on, Evan. Feels like we go too long during the off season. Into the regular season, but yeah, I'm looking
having me on. Well, I appreciate it. Continue good work. I look forward to all your write-ups coming probably later in the month of June. Yeah. Day by day, you get a nice team that comes out, a good write-up, and I've said this to you when we met a couple of years ago. I've been reading your website for over a decade, and it's been NFL free agency, off-season information. Nobody does it like you. You're top of the line when it comes to off-season information, keeping people up to date. Anybody who's not reading that website's not getting properly prepared. So appreciate that. Looking forward to that as my summer reading material, as one of my go-to summer reading materials. And I can't wait for that. I can't wait for our discussions later this summer, and of course as we head in towards the real Week 1 season.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to posting the season previews. I'm almost done. I have 6 more teams left plus the playoffs. So once I get everything done, I will start posting it. I think last year I started like June 13th, so we are like 2 weeks away from that getting posted. So actually, I probably would have finished it this week. My kids were sick all week, both at the same time. I wish I were sick instead of them. Like it just sucks to see your kids sick. Luckily they seem to be getting better. Tonight they're both asleep all night. Whereas last night my daughter was up for 2 hours. So. That was pretty rough. Tuesday night was really bad because my daughter got up like 3 times. And then my son got up like super early, 5:30 in the morning. So yeah, hopefully, knock on wood, they're getting better. And it was an ear infection for my daughter. So thankfully that was just all it was. So all right, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. We'll be back Saturday. Tom is off this week. He has work. He has a work event. So I think I'll probably be solo on Saturday, just doing fantasy best ball drafts. It's always a good time. And then we'll always find some stuff to talk about. Next week, we have a full schedule. Nothing that I don't see why we'd have any days off. So I'm looking forward to that. Please like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. Have a great start to your weekend, guys. And I'll talk to you Saturday.